Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 210 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the #1 live podcast in Canada. We're recording on January 13th, 2019.
My name is Ian. I'm a hobby farmer and preparedness autiste on Vancouver Island.
I'm Dave. I'm a hunter, competitive shooter, match director, all-around fun guy.
Hi, I'm Benny. I'm Canadian. I own guns.
Nice.
As always, my name is Andrew. I'll be your host. I'm a recovering libertarian, a competitive shooter, and a firearms instructor at Ragnarok Tactical, and I won gay service pistol this weekend.
Yay.
Nice. Attaboy.
Oh, I should have used the pre-show to update the show notes. So instead, we'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email the show feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. You can find the show on Stitcher and iTunes and anywhere that fine podcasts are sold.
Check out our podcast at Facebook and Instagram.
That works
Good
too.
enough.
We need your help. To support the show, visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. The more you pledge, the better the rewards are. Show you're not a communist, buy a CPP t-shirt for just $19.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right.
All right, it's time to do What Are We Drinking? This is the part in the show where I ask, what are you drinking? And you tell the audience. Ian, are you on Daddy Uber duty?
I am indeed.
It must be Monday night.
It is, but it won't happen next week, I think. So,
Hey.
anyways, for myself, it's once again some atrazine-free well water and some kofefe, which we like.
Nice.
Well, that's the wife calls it. Anyways, it is strong, hot, and blonde, just like the wife.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Benny, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking nothing tonight but water. We're on the water again.
Okay, I mean, all right, I guess. Do you
I'm also
also
gonna-
have Daddy Uber duty?
No, we're out of alcohol.
Oh, what?
I don't understand.
I have an excuse.
I'm not a big whiskey drinker. I think I have a bottle of whiskey out back and that's it. And I don't know. I'm not, except for Monday nights when I'm on the show, I don't really drink alcohol.
Oh. I try to tone it down on Monday nights. We live different lives.
Yeah.
David, what are you drinking?
Oh, also nothing fun. Some colored water as well. Just cleansing.
Ah, gross.
I am sorry.
Not even like a Michelob Ultra or
Nah, nothing. I mean,
a light beer?
trying to cleanse.
Well, the good news is this doesn't mean you're drinking alone, Andrew. It's just you still got
It
us
just
with
means
you.
I'm the only one drinking.
It just means you're still drinking.
Unfortunately. I won't let it happen again, I promise.
That's fine. I'm not trying to peer pressure you into drinking alcohol. That's bad. I don't condone that sort of thing.
Drinking alcohol is great. The peer pressure is the problem, right?
Friends don't let friends drink alcohol alone, though.
I mean, yeah, but I wouldn't want to encourage like any sort of dependencies or isms.
Isms. They're bad, okay?
We don't want isms. So I guess I'm the lone non-teetotaling teetotaler on the show this week. I'm drinking green tea. No, that's a lie. I'm drinking a smash. I'm drinking beer. It's beer. I brewed it. It's great. I'm almost through the smash. It's Centennial and two-row, and it's so good and overcarbonated.
I like overcarbonated.
It's way too carbonated. Like I have to pour like half the bottle and wait 10 minutes for the head to go away, and then like I have to come back and like pour the other half the bottle after I finished it, like the first pour, because it's
Is that the stuff that
overcarbonated.
it's like an hour later, it's still bubbling?
If you were anybody else,
this bottle has been open for 2 hours and it's going hard.
if you were anyone else,
So
Andrew,
cloudy.
I would threaten to come over and teach you how to pour a beer.
It's not user. Well, I mean, it is user error in this case, but it was the asshole who was drinking when he bottled, not the asshole who was pouring it this afternoon. So blame old me.
Old Andrew. Past
Yeah,
Andrew
that guy
sucks.
did it wrong. I don't know what I did wrong. Too much sugar. I mean, I know what I did wrong. I just I
Probably
checked my notes and my
Drinking.
notes said I used the right amount of priming sugar. So YOLO.
drinking.
Whatever. It's fine. It's beer.
Yeah.
Good.
Exactly.
Other things that are fine. We're going to go into the news. The first one is nobody in Ontario is dead because the government blew up a nuclear plant.
Yay!
Good to know.
Yet.
So in case anybody not in Southern Ontario didn't hear, yesterday
Yeah,
morning we all got woken up by a very rude awakening, I would say.
Well, some of us were just at the gun club going, oh, I don't want to drive home and get all my shit.
I left my Go Pack at home. Shit.
The inconvenience of evacuating your family from a nuclear fallout. Yeah.
So
I mean,
two
Nuclear
articles.
fallout.
Yeah.
Two articles. We're going to start. CTV. Emergency alert about Ontario nuclear plant was sent by mistake, and an opinion piece in the National Post from Matt Gurney. False nuclear alert shows Canadians are on their own in case of disaster. I can't wait to dig into that one. I'm so glad Ian's here to talk about the preparedness
I feel like we got-
of this.
The autism is getting stronger. That's why I'm wearing the hat.
I feel like we got a subject matter expert here.
I didn't have a hockey helmet, so I thought I'd wear this today.
I guess for our audio listeners, since this is a podcast, if you want to see Ian's ridiculous headgear, tune in Monday night on YouTube. We do this live. It's hilarious.
Isn't it always on? Like you can go back and watch the episode.
Oh yeah, but it's live. So if you want to be like generic first, generic last, and tell us that you're drinking Weiser's Old Fashioned like a good Canadian boy, you can get on the YouTube and you can live chat with us while we do this. You can't live chat with us after the fact. Like I don't remember who last week, but somebody left a note that said I should stop drinking Flying Monkeys because they support liberal candidates, and Trudeau did a stop there during his last tour. And it's like, yeah, but I try to separate people's art from their politics, and that's hard. And like same thing, I try to separate companies from their politics, and that's hard. Flying Monkeys makes like pretty goddamn good beer. So I'm probably still gonna drink it, even if they support the liberals. I'm not gonna I don't drink a lot of it, but you know what? They make some pretty damn good beer.
Won't hold it against them for now.
It's
I
like
mean, I
voting,
will.
Well, it's like voting for Andrew Scheer. Just hold your nose and do it. I mean,
Right, like I don't have
Sometimes
to
you
like
skip.
their politics to like their product. I mean, I can definitely understand the whole like not giving money to people that are fundamentally opposed to you and your way of life. Pros and cons. It's not a thing that I'm like drawing a hard line in because most companies hate me, so. Oh, apologies. I did assume generic first and last gender because the demographic details that we see in YouTube say that like 98% of our audience identifies as male. So if you're one of the other 72 genders or female, my bad.
Well, I don't know about anyone else, but his avatar definitely looks very male.
Yeah,
No?
okay.
Okay.
It's like the
So-
generic person avatar, but yeah, all right. I guess
So-
it's the top half of the restroom sign for either restroom. Let's talk.
Ian, what
about
could we
this.
have done to if this was a real fallout? What should we or what could we have done?
Well, I don't know
differently?
that we want to necessarily get into that yet, but I definitely want to talk
Let's
about
go over
that
a
in the Matt
timeline.
Gurney article.
run away!
Run away. So Pickering Nuclear Power Generating Station in Pickering was doing preparedness testing this weekend with the I forget what group it was that OPG does this with, but it's like the Ontario Preparedness Council or something. I forget what the name of the group is. They were running drills this weekend and they somehow
Click the real on
accidentally
switch.
yeah. Oh, it's the Provincial Emergency Operations Center. That's the name of
There you go.
the group that was doing this is PEOC, the Provincial Emergency Operations Center. So they were doing like drills in Pickering, what to do if we have like a nuclear event. And somehow they accidentally sent out one of those alert, like a phone alert that
Yeah, like a
goes to
child
everybody's
alert,
phone
same thing.
that you can't opt out of and wakes everybody up. And they did it like 8
7:30.
o'clock on Sunday morning, 7:30
7:30.
on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I mean, I had to wake up at that time anyway, so I wasn't terribly mad. I was going to Gay Service Pistol, but
Yeah, but it was more the content of the message that I think that was.
Oh, absolutely. it was
part
it
that
kept
makes you
saying
mad.
not to worry, but yet it buzzed twice saying,
This is an alert, but don't
this
worry.
is an alert about a nuclear power plant but don't worry, you don't need to take cover because there's
Who
no
does-
radioactive fallout at this time.
Yeah.
Who does
So let
system
me-
checks at 7:30 in the morning on a Sunday?
It's probably end of shift.
I mean, maybe they're
prophets.
training the C squad. I don't know.
Like, I feel like you do that in, like, I don't know, a Wednesday afternoon when everyone's there.
That, and I mean, well, the big thing is, like, obviously whoever hit the go live switch, like the real go live switch for sending out the message, he fucked up hard.
Well, and there's some debate about whether or not this was human error or whether this was an automated system. In any event, they were running drills, and it should have said that they were running drills, because, like, this kind of stuff happens with emergency operations management. Is sometimes you accidentally have people that walk into your scenario, and you're like, "Oh no, everybody here's fine. It's all just fake blood. It's okay. Ignore the flashing lights and sirens. It's fine." Right? This is a drill. Like, they literally say that. Like,
No,
how
I'm
many
just kidding.
fire drills did you have in school? Like, at least one a year because it's provincially mandated.
I think it was like every once
And
a month.
They're
or
always
something
like,
that.
"This is a fire drill."
Yeah, in schools it's mandated once a year, or
Once
twice
a semester,
annually.
I believe.
But in preschools it's supposed to be once a month.
Good to know. Let me read the alert. The very scary, doesn't tell you anything alert.
Yeah.
This is a province of Ontario emergency bulletin which applies to people within 10 kilometers of the Pickering Nuclear Generating Station. An incident was reported at the Pickering Nuclear Generating Station. There has been no, all caps, abnormal release of radioactivity from the station, and emergency staff are responding to the situation. People near the Pickering Nuclear Generating Station do not need to take any protective actions at this time. Remain tuned to local media for further information and instructions. And if you're me, that's the only alert you got.
Mm-hmm.
Other people got the stand down alert 90 minutes later where they were saying that nothing happened. Other people were reading on the Twitter where 30 minutes later, Ontario Power Generation was like, "Hey, yeah, by the way,
Psych.
that was a mistake. We didn't mean to send that out." And I mean,
It's the
maybe I'm
wording in
skeptical
this.
of the government and government agencies like OPG, but like, didn't the Russians tell everybody in Chernobyl that everything was fine for like a week before they evacuated?
Yeah, it's just a fire at the complex. No big deal.
4 or 5 days, no big deal.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's the wording of the original message where it's like there is a situation, there's an incident. Sorry, there is an incident that has been reported, but obviously it's something not, nuclear material is not being released. Maybe there was an attack on it. I was thinking there was an attack. Like we have all this news about possible terrorist attacks, for retaliation and stuff. I was figuring somebody finally made a move on a nuclear power plant.
I feel
like I
like
said,
it
it
Those
was.
guys
says-
are pretty well trained.
It sounds
Yeah,
like
no, I'm not
someone's
too worried. I know a
covering
few
their
of those
ass.
guys.
It sounds like someone's covering their ass. This was a, if like in the situation where something really did happen, they'd send this out. If the situation really was under control, and if anything went wrong, they could say, "Well, we warned the population to be on alert that something catastrophic might happen soon." But yeah, I'm did this cause panic, or was it just an annoying wake up at 7:30 in the morning?
So
I think there was some.
I don't know because I don't have. So
I think
I don't know people that are like not like us.
Okay,
So
so I
for
saw
us, it was
a
like,
few.
do we keep going to the gun range or do we go home and get the dogs? And how far do I have to get from Pickering again? That's in the book, right? We have that written down. I think I have to get to like Chicago, right?
You gotta get upwind of it. That's the
Just up,
problem.
you're fine. The prevailing winds goes to Montreal, so you're fine. You literally don't need to do anything. Yeah, even me and Milton, I don't need to do anything.
I didn't even get the alert.
Yeah, but where are you?
London, but I don't know if my
Mhm.
phone knows that.
don't
Actually,
know.
maybe it does now.
Yeah,
I don't think that there's much that any of us could do or should do if we have these things happening, but I think this does draw into, I don't know, draws like this should be taken as an opportunity for people that didn't know what to do to figure their shit out. Like,
figure
this
it
is
out.
the
Yeah,
time to,
there was people I saw on a few on Facebook posts of people that are not like us. They're just from a different walk
normies.
of
We
life.
call them normies.
Yeah, normies, sure. Yeah, not prepared, and they're definitely scared. I mean, I don't think there was any panic because the second message came within a half hour, which is not a shit ton of time to like. I mean, it's a shit ton of time if it was real, but as far as
Well, I think
it being fake,
was a lot more than that for most people. I mean, they weren't even getting the Twitter updated for half an hour, and then
well, I was
like the
I was on the
stand-down alert was
road at 8:15, and I was already listening to the news talk radio, and it was already being announced that it was a mistake on the radio.
See, so I think that's the thing is like it was already on Twitter and media, but the actual like, so I was with my wife when she got the stand down alert where it was like nothing happened, don't sweat it.
So it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
There's actually a lady on the one of the Facebook groups there that is involved with preparedness, and she had already made it all the way down to the U.S. border in St. Catharines by the time the stand down happened. And she was just beadling south like 90 degrees to the prevailing winds and everything else. But in the meantime, she learned a bunch of valuable lessons because she had forgotten, well, to keep her tank above half full. She had got a flat. She forgot her passport. So she's like, but good for her for first mover advantage, right? She kind of beat the wave, but she realized how many things that she kind of gapped on.
Yeah, well, she wouldn't have been going anywhere without the passport
or the flat tire or anything else, right?
Tire, yeah.
So
did she know how to change a flat tire?
She didn't have a spare or a jack or anything. So she's like, ah!
And that's the thing, right?
And she's a preparedness person.
That's such a
like even
basic
I
thing.
have that.
A lot of cars
not only having it though, but knowing how to do
knowing how to use it.
Yeah.
I watch so many people trying to change a tire, and they don't understand that you can't jack up the car and then try and loosen off the lug nuts. You got to loosen them off first before you jack up that car. That basic fact is like a mystery to most people, and it's the reason why they all struggle to try and get their tire off. Then the tire just keeps spinning as they're trying to loosen it off, right? And then they're trying to hold it, and you'll never get it off. Like most of the time, you get the little bar that's only a foot long, the tire iron, and the best way to get it off is you actually just stand on it, put it on it, stand on it, and break it free with your leg, because you're not going to get it free with your arms. It's too short.
And even then, a lot of these new cars nowadays, like even 10 years ago, we were looking at some new cars, and some of them didn't come with spare tires. They just don't even have them on board.
Yeah. Is that even legal?
No,
they come with the kit. Some of them come with a blowout kit.
Oh yeah, the blowout kit. Yeah.
But they don't come with the tire.
And some of them come with 24/7 roadside assistance for the first year of ownership, and that's it.
Yeah, there's a nuclear holocaust about to go down. CAA, can you
help me, please?
Can you make that happen?
Yeah,
it's warmer than I thought.
But you said 24 hours.
Yeah. So no, actually, I mean, knowing where your prevailing winds are coming from, that's another the first off big thing to know. So if you're like in southern Ontario, it's usually west to east.
Yeah.
So probably 80% of the days you're going to have winds blowing from Kincardine towards Barrie,
and slightly south north as well.
Like and then same thing with Ajax, like blowing to Montreal / Maine, right? So if you're going to go downwind, you better keep driving because it's going to play catch up with you at about anywhere from 30 to 100 knots, or miles an hour. Sorry, I should say that. Anyways, but so the best thing to do is either go 90 degrees to it or upwind of it, and then let's see here. What else can I talk about? Potassium iodide pills. You guys can apply for free for them.
I was wondering about those. I was thinking about that yesterday morning. I was like, I've always heard about iodine pills. I don't know exactly how they work and how they. Yeah, I think they flush your system out, right?
Well, what they do is the body absorbs potassium iodide more readily than it does the radioactive iodine, and so it displaces it in your thyroid and your liver. So if you take a pill, you're not going to not get radiation poisoning, but you're not going to retain it in your liver or your thyroid.
Okay.
So
it helps with those more mild doses where you are you're not in the blast zone or the actual.
Only with radioactive iodine. There's also the other problems. There's depends on what the reactor's made of. But Ontario Power Generation does offer free pills if you live within a certain kilometer radius. I think it's either, is it
probably 40K,
40 or something like that. Just email them and they'll send them to you.
And the biggest thing, I'm sure you probably want to get into it, but from everything I've read about possible nuclear war, nuclear fallout, everything is you're actually want to wait it out if possible in a basement. Until the fallout has fallen back to the ground. Once that's happened, then it's safe to move. Well,
basically, with nuclear bombs, it's 2 weeks for generally, depending on what they're made of. But some of these power station issues can go on for years because the half-life of the radioactive material is way longer than the average bomb. So for the most part, it's just if you can't stay upwind, like we're still dealing with stuff from Japan on the west coast here. It's still reading on the coast, and this is like years later because they also keep dumping radioactive water in on the Japan side and swirls around. But yeah, no, I mean, the other thing, you guys just make sure keep your gas tank above half because you want to be able to get away without having to stop somewhere and line up at the gas station. There are suits you can get. You can get ABC gear if you really wanted to, but that's cost prohibitive based on the risk factor. Yeah, and then of course you can also get your dead stickers too, the little dosimeters.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Basically, start turning black as you start getting radioactive dosage, but usually by the time you see black, it's probably too late.
Yeah, probably too late. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what? So for the listeners, I guess, and for the not as informed, what would be like the play-by-play if the event was real? If there was a radioactive blowout from one of our CANDU reactors, which are, by the way, one of the safest reactors on the planet. But anyways, what would be the play-by-play? What would you do in the first hour? What would you do in the first day? What would you do in the first week as far as when should you move? When should you take
think
cover?
It's going to depend on where you are in relation to the reactor. For most of us in southern Ontario,
Yeah.
make sure your mags are loaded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, just stay home. Go home.
Well,
Stay home.
if you're downwind of the plants, first mover advantage, right? So as soon as you hear the alert, forget the gay service pistol match, drop tools, go, contact the family, make sure they start, just like the old IKEA commercials, start the car.
Start the car.
So make sure that they got the car packed up with your pre-packed, not necessarily like tactical bug out bags, but just the spare clothing.
Like
and
just
the
a bug
documents.
out bag. Yeah.
Yeah,
Everybody should have
bag.
a bug out bag. Yeah.
Just some basic
You're
snacks.
going to a hotel for a while back.
Exactly. You're just going to go to a hotel that's probably like upwind or 90 degrees off of it. And then, yeah, depends on what happens after that. I mean, like, obviously, if you're in that affected area, you're not going to be going back home anytime soon.
Yeah, and your stuff's going to be irradiated, so it's junk anyways. So
just like even right now in Japan and in the affected area, they still can't go home.
yeah, that 40 kilometer, it's like 40 kilometers, I think, circumference around it. That basically they're not going back for another couple hundred years, basically.
Yeah, they can go back for like 15 minutes at a stretch right now. But the Albertan pointed out, a couple jerry cans in the back of your in your garage or in the back of your car. Probably not in the back of your car because it stinks too much during summer. But honestly, just as long as you have a fuel ready to go, and then I mean, you're basically it depends on the situation, right?
Yeah, I know. But hand crank radio. Yeah,
there's no food trucks going into that area. There's no anything else. So if you try and stay put in the basement and try and wait it out, you probably won't be able to wait it out time-wise with the half-life. But you're not getting any more supplies there. So
yeah, well, that's what I mean. That's to-go bag. Like, I mean, I have a 3,000 calorie pack of food plus water cleaning tablets and the straw, a hand crank radio, first aid, loaded mags, first aid kit. I think I said that already.
But the radio is key too, right? Because I mean, you might get some updates and I mean, but even a website saved on your phone for Environment Canada, because if you can figure out what the upper winds are doing, they might be blowing the opposite, because they do blow opposite directions sometime, right?
Yeah, sometimes you get that polar vortex and it's going complete opposite direction.
Yeah, and before you know it, it's blowing towards you instead of away from you. So that's a problem too.
Mm-hmm.
So the government's not coming to save me? Is that?
Turns out no. Like he wrote about that in the paper.
Huh. So it took the government 90 minutes to retract their dumb comment, and they're still not going to come and save me.
Nope. Not even within 72 hours like they claim.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
And I just want to...
I'm disappointed in the unreliability of what my tax dollars have gotten me.
Got you dead if you're not prepared.
Unlike the States, they can't just park a carrier group off the affected area of some disaster zone and provide aid to a bunch of people. So we don't we don't have a high logistical capability in the military. I don't know if you noticed that, Andrew, but the logistics of the U.S. or the Canadian military kind of sucks comparatively. So to get
they have a hard time just making bags of sand.
Yeah.
Well, that's I mean, you didn't know that's the new standard way we test our soldiers to see if they're fit is if they can basically fill and move sandbags.
I really wish Benny was joking. They really did change
the
combat.
That is what the fitness test is.
Are you serious?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, the
100%.
New Battlefield. What's it's not the Battlefield fitness test, but what's the new fitness test? That is.
I don't know. I don't remember what it's called. But yeah,
that is one component of it. It's digging a trench, like a shell scrape, like a fighting position, and filling a sandbag and moving the sandbag.
Andrew, it's digging a drainage ditch. You got to think of it. It's the way they phrase it is jobs that a regular soldier will actually have to deal with during their service. So digging a drainage ditch, filling a sandbag, moving, a bag of rice or whatever else they have to do for the UN. That's what they're doing. That's what they're training to do.
True. They did change the fitness test to encompass those things a couple of years ago.
But one thing I would like to say at the end of all of this is if you do a little research on the technology that's used for the Canadian reactors, they're super, super, super safe. They're basically fail safe.
Well,
If you look at the way that
it's made by
they work,
if
It
it's
is.
made by humans, it's bound to have faults to it. So, I
it
mean,
is.
yeah,
But if you look at all the previous accidents and the way they've happened, like 3 Mile Island and over in Japan, ours don't work that way. When you lose the water, that's the moderator, the reaction stops and nothing happens. So,
yeah, that's the key because I mean, a lot of these generating plants actually require external power hooked into them to work properly.
to work properly, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, but I don't think our reactors are immune to that either. I think they require external power.
Yeah, there are
So-
generators.
Yeah. So the others generators, but for
Hmm.
how long? How much gas do they have stored up to run those backup generators?
Mhm.
So a couple, 3 days, maybe a couple weeks.
Well, the thing is, they only need to run long enough to wind down the reactors so that
Yeah.
they're even without water, they're not going to melt down. Basically,
No, but then you just don't have power forever.
The way
Yeah,
I
yeah,
see it
exactly.
is, it's not
it's like
about
a six.
the.
I think it's like a 6 month start back to start. I could be wrong, but from what I remember, I think it takes an exceptionally long amount of time to get the reactors going again after like a abrupt shutdown like that.
The way I see it, it's not about the odds; it's about the stakes. And there's very little you can do anyway. So a couple iodine tablets and keeping your truck filled and everything like that.
Yeah, and a go bag. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
nothing.
half a dozen, 6 of one, half a dozen the other. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I spent in total maybe $100 total to make my to-go bag, like first aid kit, all the, the straw for the water, all that stuff that's in it, food, everything.
If you want to see sticker shock, try and look up how much a Geiger counter costs.
Yeah.
What do I need that for? I already know we're being irradiated. That's
Exactly. Do you really want to know the bad news?
It's just gonna give me anxiety.
Yeah.
Speaking of giving me anxiety, let's talk about Vice News. Justin Trudeau has a beard now. What does that
Justin
mean?
Trudeau.
Well, for starters, it means Sophie's got some competition.
What else? Bumps.
And I've
here
been
all
waiting to
night,
make that joke for a week.
Yeah, he's here all night. Try the steak.
Oh my god.
That's right. Tip your waitress.
That's great.
So the problem is now that he grew one, now I want to shave mine off. So
Yeah, same. Pisses me off.
He would not wear this one.
Yeah,
it's just
mine
too
is
glorious.
much more majestic than his.
did you notice
What
that the
is-
eyebrows got tinted to match? So you got a little bit of salt and pepper in the eyebrows now too. All of a sudden, they were like black.
I bet
last
you.
week.
I bet you he's using that fucking for men shit in his fucking eyebrows because that's how much of a fucking loser he
So-
is.
The thing that kills me about this.
Excuse me,
and
Dave.
I
He
mean-
probably pays someone to do that. Or sorry, we probably pay someone to do that.
Well, as long as it's not an esthetician in Vancouver. Tune in a minute to hear about that story. But yeah, I don't care what this dude's beard is. I just think it's funny that this is like national news. Vice has the funniest article on this, but like this made international headlines. This is not just in Vice. This was on CTV and the CBC, and I think it might have made the National Post, and it was in a bunch of US outlets, and it was in a bunch of European outlets.
I hate that. I would
Because-
hate that this guy's getting like just more shows, like screen time for
the
this.
leader of Canada, his biggest feature is his looks. Because during the election, we cared about his hair. When we had the interview where he was in an airplane, they talked about what shampoo he uses. Anytime he goes on talk shows in the U.S., we talk about his socks.
Well,
So-
when all the Iran stuff was going on, and they didn't talk about airstrikes, they didn't talk about pushback or like rocket strikes. They said, "What do you think?" Like Global News, I think it was putting out
Global
articles.
News was like, Trudeau's got a beard now.
Yeah, what do you think of Trudeau's beard? Vote
Yeah,
now.
top-
Why weren't we
Top-
talking about his creepy, bad, classic evil guy goatee? How many years ago was that? 2 years ago? 3 years ago? When
no,
the
he was
little,
still
like-
an MP when he had the. He was still an MP.
Makes
when
me
he had
think
the
like
crazy
20,
goatee.
25-year-olds are running these news outlets now. I think.
Well, I mean, I think that's part of this. Is like really all this dude's got going for him is his last name and his looks.
Yeah, we've been saying that for like 5 years
and
now.
his party.
Well, they've been trying to portray him as older and grown up now for the second term. I'm like,
Yeah. All of a sudden, he knows what he's
not
doing.
fooling me.
Yeah,
I
no.
think that's part of what the image consultant. I'm sure this was not his original idea. I don't think he has original ideas,
Yeah.
but I'm sure that this was the result of the image consultant being like, well, we'll give him a beard, it'll add a little bit of gravity, we'll make it salt and pepper, it'll make him look a little bit older, he won't look like such a playboy, he'll look like a dignified statesman now.
I think he just left it on after his bender in Costa Rica.
Oh, I totally believe it. I think you're totally right.
It certainly could be a product of the Costa Rican vacation. Man, that should be a National Lampoon's movie.
What a disgrace.
Well, he is, and I mean, we're not fooled. New Year, same Trudeau. But,
Exactly.
like this was Global's top news article when the Americans were about to launch World War III.
Yeah, but
So,
we're not a serious country or have
I-
serious news, right?
Right? We don't. We don't.
If that's our top news, when like the whole world is like
On
literally
fire.
exploding
In the case of
in
Australia,
fire,
literally.
Yeah. legit, yeah, like 100%. Not even kidding. This is what we're worried about. Well, this is what our mainstream media should have us be worried about.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not sure
brutal.
about this. This is, I mean,
Not
I
fooling
guess maybe
anybody.
he's trying to compete with Jagmeet Singh, or maybe he's trying to keep up with Harjit Sajjan, but I don't think that's the case. I think this is the like I'm the cool dad look for the next election.
Yeah.
Because like, mark my words, there's going to be another election.
I was
I'm a
going to
real-
say,
I'm a big
I
boy
wish we
now.
had term limits.
Yeah,
I definitely think this is just his publicist said, we need you to look more adulty,
yeah. Could you look a little bit more
less asshole.
like a prime minister?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at me, I'm adulting.
I'm a real boy.
Speaking of real boys, Jessica Yaniva's in the news again.
Oh, what a twat.
Dumpster fire numero uno
The dumpster fire that just keeps on giving.
and burning away brightly. Jesus.
No, yeah. So, two Jessica Yaniv stories this week because he's in the news. Jessica Yaniv sues more women salon owners for wax refusals with jobs, and I know in podcast land, listeners are shouting at the stereo in their F-150, going, "Andrew, you talked about this 6 months ago." Well,
At
I
it
did.
again.
but he's doing it again.
But did he win his
Well,
first ones?
Nope.
No,
No.
So we talked
Why
about
is he
this
still
back in
trying?
October.
There's precedent
We
now.
talked about this in October. The British Columbia Human Rights Tribunal turfed like 4 malicious. It's not malicious prosecution when you do it in the Human Rights Tribunal. What's the word for it? It's malicious something else.
It's
where they
like
brought the suit-
maluse of the law or something like that. Or
Yeah, yeah.
misuse
So
of the
she-
law.
This individual brought like 4 suits to the BC Human Rights Tribunal for estheticians refusing to wax his balls. And
We know,
I think also his
do your
legs.
balls. They're way
Yeah.
too hairy.
So the judge, is that the right thing? Is the judge run tribunal?
Arbitrator.
Nah, it's not. It's not judicial.
Arbiter? Yeah, I'm not sure what the right
Bureaucrat who
title
has
is.
a nice paycheck.
The Lord.
Again, we're not a serious country, so whatever. Make up a word.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm going with the Lord that's in charge of this, the chief clown, if you will.
Yeah.
Threw it out. And in the same month, in October, when those were thrown out, Yaniv filed more complaints with more salon owners for the same purpose, and it's the same thing that was thrown out for before. So it's primarily targeting immigrant and minority religious women who
Sikh,
own
Brazilian.
small businesses. So it's Sikhs and Muslims and Southeast Asians who have started small esthetician businesses, and they are either citing for safety or religious reasons that they don't want to wax Jessica's scrotum or legs.
I'm just waiting for someone to be like, "Yeah, I'll do it," and then take a straight blade and just be like, "Whoops,
Oh,
you
geez,
said you were a woman."
yeah.
Well,
No big
now you
deal.
I
are.
missed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm
this
so
is
sorry, round eye.
So not only is he like completely whacked and out to lunch with his gender fluidity, but he's also racist, is what you're saying?
I think so.
I feel like this whole like, and I keep saying malicious prosecution. I know that's not the right word. I can't think of what the right type of thing with the lawsuit is here. But
Yeah.
I'm sure that they are doing this. They, he, them,
Jade.
sure. I don't know what the correct pronoun is in this case.
Dipshit?
And I, frankly, that's a good one. I like that. I don't know what this dipshit is up to. I was told I'm not allowed to call people fucker at work anymore, despite it being gender neutral.
Listen here, fuckers.
So
Right.
whatever this dipshit is up to, I mean, I'm sure that this is going to get thrown out again because the last go round, Yaniv was ordered to pay $2,000 to everyone that was involved. I think
Probably
I think
to
it was
the court for wasting their time. No,
no, I think it was to all of the again,
plaintiffs or sorry,
defendant
defendants.
is not the right
Yeah.
word, but like the defendants in this case.
Hmm.
Because the BC Human Rights Tribunal was like, yeah, no, this is being done on purpose and maliciously.
Frivolous and
damages.
vexatious complaints.
Her
Yeah,
lawyer
that's
must be an idiot too. I mean, there's precedent now. Why would you keep doing the same shit? Of course,
I-
like,
I don't know if you have a lawyer. If you get a lawyer here,
oh
Yeah,
it's-
I don't know enough about how the Human Rights Tribunal works, and I'm super okay with that.
I feel like someone said, you're so fat, you have man boobs, and then she's like, or he's like, or it's
now
like,
he just wants to own it.
I have boobs. I must be a woman. Because
I mean,
that picture they're
maybe.
using, whoa.
Yeah, so
I mean,
friv-
there's
Wow.
no good ones.
There's
It's
not
called-
like there's a good picture.
no,
Seriously.
there's not enough beer in the world to make that a good picture, but
No.
frivolous or vexatious complaints, and they can also be dismissed if there's no reasonable prospect that the complaint will succeed. So, there's just no way this is going past the complaint part. But
So, speaking of complaints, follow-up article. I guess it's worth mentioning all of this is in the Post Millennial because that's my source for Jessica Yaniv news. This is a quote from Yaniv. I'm not allowing this. Yaniv vows to stop Ricky Gervais's Vancouver show. I don't know how to do that in a Jessica Yaniv accent. I think that's just like my normal voice.
It's ma'am.
So I guess Gervaisi, who I'm not a particularly big fan of, and I don't find his comedy to be very comedic, but I guess he's gotten into a spat with Yaniv before about threatening to use her as a Halloween costume.
like
you did
Buffalo
that to
Bill
yourself,
style, or
man.
Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, so I
I
guess
mean-
he's now like super popular because of his hosting of the whatever award ceremony he just did in the States. That was the Golden Globes. Was that?
Yeah.
Golden
Yes.
Globes, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess Gervaisi is like super popular at the moment, and
Yeah.
plans to go on tour and includes a stop in Vancouver, and Yaniv is not in favor of allowing that. As
I mean,
if
I
they
wouldn't-
have
I
some
wouldn't-
sort of say.
I wouldn't pay to hear it, but I actually wouldn't mind hearing what his hopefully his completely cutting her up when he does come to Vancouver. Hit him up when he comes to Vancouver.
Yeah,
It's
I
the
mean,
hair. It really gets you, doesn't it, Dave?
Yeah.
I don't know where they fall in like the victim hierarchy. Like, am I supposed to like feel bad for the leftist comedian, or am I supposed to feel bad for the leftist that suffers from gender dysphoria?
Yeah, I
know
don't.
where I don't know where they rank in the victim hierarchy, and frankly, I don't care.
I mean, I
I
feel
just
like
think it's funny that that Yaniv feels like they have some sort of say over which comedians tour Vancouver and which don't.
I feel like he knows somebody at the Post Millennial. I mean, why do they keep giving him a platform to speak on? Like, nobody gives a shit. I assure you, Ricky Gervais doesn't give a shit.
No, it's more
I think he
pointing
does
out-
because I think for him he can use this as a joke. I think.
Well,
this
yeah,
can-
I guess
I
so.
think Yaniv can just be another punchline for his show.
it's joke, it's media attention. Like the Post Millennial is just poking fun at Yaniv, and then but the story itself is
you have
is
to read some
Ricky
of the articles
getting
and most.
more publicity.
Also, isn't he like 50 years old? Can he not like go by Richard?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, at what point do you stop calling yourself Ricky?
It's his stage name, okay?
Mm. Oh, okay.
It's
So,
a
I
sad
guess-
thing.
yeah, would it be the same if it was Richard and Julian? Oh.
Yeah, it's true.
Eh.
Only person that would call him Richard is his mom.
That's right.
All right, let's go on to some some good news, at least for those of us with an interest in aviation and Canada, or I guess overlapping interest in aviation in Canada. This is on CBC Saskatoon. Avro Aero blueprints on display after sitting in Saskatchewan man's home for decades. So once upon a time, we were on the precipice of becoming the dominant air power in the world. And then Diefenbaker shut down the coolest airplane program ever.
We have bad
like
luck
that's
when
a
it
good
comes
summary.
to that.
But and then, ironically enough, we can use this irony properly. They named an airport after him after he shut down the aviation industry.
Oh, the Diefenbaker, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, Saskatoon. So, I mean, the blueprints are a nice little piece of history, and it was interesting the fact that after all those guys left the Aero program, some of them put people on the moon because they went down and worked for NASA. Other people designed the F-4 Phantom, and other people designed the Concorde. So I guess without the Avro Aero getting shut down, maybe those things might not have happened as easily.
I feel like most of those things would have happened regardless, but freeing up some of the engineers involved at the time.
Talent. Yeah, like I said,
Right,
they would have happened, but just not as easily, I think, because Canadians were pretty pivotal. That and captured Germans in Operation Paperclip. We're putting Ben on the moon, basically.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't be able to put Neil Armstrong on the moon if we didn't have Nazi rocket scientists.
Werner von Braun, he's a hero.
Nah,
Well-
I mean, he's more like a prostitute of external ballistics.
Well, self-preservation is a thing, right? And I guess
Right, but I mean, like, he wasn't
shot
really
by the
working for the
communists.
Nazis because he, like, really cared about National Socialism. He was like, oh, you're going to fund all my research and let me figure out how rockets work? Fuck yeah, let's do that. But in German.
Yeah. And then after the war was over, it's like, I got to get away from these communists. They're going to shoot my ass. So,
Yeah. So, America, you're into rockets, right? I can still build rockets?
I can
Cool.
still rock it. Yeah.
We go, psh.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, self-preservationism and being part of Operation Paperclip, definitely a thing, but also a lot of the people that were involved in the early part of, like, the putting people into space thing, like building rockets and launching satellites and eventually putting men on the moon, like, a lot of that was because they wanted to go do cool things, not because they necessarily believed in the
Yeah, like
politics
space,
of the government for which they worked.
like a cool space force and whatnot.
Well, and I think this is the same thing with our Canadian engineers that eventually went to go and work on things like the F-4 Phantom, which super cool jet. Or
Absolutely.
the Concorde, also super cool jet. So, yeah, freeing them up to go and do those things.
Are
great.
any
I
of
think
those
it would've
things still
happened either way.
flying?
What do you
The
mean?
Concordes?
Concords, I'm pretty sure, are all grounded.
They're all
in
grounded.
the 90s.
F4 Phantoms, I think there's still a few
F4s
for
are
air
still out
shows.
there. Actually, I think Iran still uses F-4 Phantoms. if
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
believe you're
mistaken.
right. I think I just read that as well. Yes.
Now, how operational they are, I'm not too sure. But if I'm not mistaken, the Iranian Air Force operates a fleet of F-4s.
Biggest drawback with the F4 is they're terrible for dogfighting, as they have no Gatling gun.
Well, they didn't
Little fun
originally.
fact.
They
I would,
didn't
I would
originally.
also argue it's because they can't turn at slow speeds. But, you know,
And they can't turn at altitude. A B-52 can out-turn an F-4 Phantom at altitude.
Really?
isn't that disappointing? Yeah,
Yeah.
the F-4 just goes fast in a straight line. It's a jet. And then,
That's crazy.
Yeah. So a big lumbering
but-
bomber can do it.
yeah, it wasn't designed. Well, I mean, it probably should have been designed to be able to have air superiority, air supremacy during dogfighting, but it was really designed more as a bombing platform than as an air-to-air combat platform.
Plane
the
go
Americans
fast.
pressed it into service in Vietnam to do something that it wasn't really designed to do.
Yeah,
because
the
they didn't have a
dogfights
lot of
were
other
interesting.
choices.
Yeah, listening
Yeah,
to the
well,
dogfights were quite interesting in Vietnam because, yeah, it wasn't really a dogfighter.
Actually, you know who else used F-4 Phantoms? If I'm not mistaken, Rhodesia had F-4 Phantoms at one point.
Well,
Nice.
this Rhodesia's badass. So.
Rhodesia is awesome. Was awesome.
Them bouncing bombs.
Mhm.
No one
No.
else read Sleuth Scouts?
No.
One of the techniques is they'd fly over, drop a bomb, hits the ground, bounces up about 4 feet, and then just, obliterates your terrorist group as they
I
walk
like
through the
that.
jungle. Yep. Those guys
Obliterating
were
terrorists is the best kind.
hardcore.
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was something that the Celios Scouts used, was like calling in the Air Force to like bounce bombs off the ground.
Yeah, it was towards the end. I believe just before they got politicized and were shut down.
That's too bad. As is most things with Rhodesia. That's too bad.
Yeah.
Also, the destruction of the Avro program, also too bad. And I kind of get that because like intercontinental ballistic missiles being a thing and strategic nuclear bombers being less of a thing. But also, how cool would it have been to have Canadian air superiority with like the best jet ever built
for at least a time.
And performance-wise, it would have held its own right up until about the mid-'80s, early '90s, and then
With
before it was kinda
Tomcats.
usurped. Yeah, well, even the F-18s basically would have finished it off. But I mean,
But
yeah,
if the project had come to completion, I think that it probably would have been built on at that stage. No,
well,
because the program never was finished. We can't tell what it would have led to. What it would have led to.
well, the fuel burn and the performance stated it was going to outperform anything else up for sale at the day. So it was going to have lots of like pre-orders, and basically it was shut down almost like overnight with no notice, just done
it's done. Wow,
after
but
a
we
meeting with the
agreed
U.S. president.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but we agreed to NORAD. Come on, we got NORAD out of this.
Yeah.
I think we probably should have stuck with our really, really cool bomber interceptor jets.
Agreed. I could have been a jet fighter. I could have been a pilot,
projected
just like I
our
wanted to be when I was a kid.
Canadian dominance all over the Arctic. I'm like, that's our maple syrup. Take off, eh?
Yeah.
No, dude,
Quit looking at my
How
polar
old is
bears, eh?
Let's talk about guns. I think it's time to talk about guns. This is in the Sudbury Star.
Dabble.
A criminal was doing criminal things and breaking the law. That's not the
No.
headline, though. Passion for 3D printing got out of hand, leading Sudbury man into trouble, which sounds a lot more innocuous than it really was. So Buddy is on a weapons prohibition from like 2011, and with his 3D printer was attempting to make 22 caliber pistols, although it does not really look like he succeeded.
Yeah, that picture. If that's his best like iteration, like he's got some work to do.
What was wrong
Yeah,
with the
he's-
Liberator? I mean, honestly.
Well, didn't someone I'm pretty sure I just saw someone post a design of a revolver type Liberator.
Oh, good. So you can blow it up a couple of times before it blows up.
Yeah, before
Sick,
it blows
I
your hand
think.
apart. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's funny.
Oh.
The question is, how did he get his original weapons prohibition?
I don't
Yeah.
think it matters. The thing to me with this is he's getting an 18-month equivalency of a jail sentence. Not an 18-month jail sentence. He's getting already time served because they held him in custody during his trial. So he's got like a couple of months left on his entire bit. He's already
And
got a weapons
then
prohibition, and he
Yeah.
knows full well that he's not allowed to illegally manufacture prohibited items.
Ian, you're wondering what he got the ban for? Walker said St. Louis was not only on a lifetime weapons ban issued in 2012, but on a fresh probation order when he was attempting to manufacture firearms. So yeah, he's well aware of what he was doing is wrong.
He's like a firebug, but with guns. He needs to make them all constantly. Not well.
Yeah, like if he's 3D printing, like why are you drilling holes?
I know. I don't understand the design there. It just doesn't. Like a piece of like some other pieces that need to attach to it or something.
Yeah, I don't know what he was trying to accomplish with his 3D printed piece of junk, but
Maybe
my
he was.
concern with this is more that like 3D printers are a thing, and so is Schedule 40 pipe that I can buy from Home Depot. Guns are not complicated. 3D printers are not the problem. People with weapons prohibitions already have weapons prohibitions.
Yeah, we
Gun
keep breaking them.
laws don't stop criminals from breaking gun laws.
We've been saying this since the beginning of time.
Anyone else wondering who put the zip tie there? Was that him or the cops?
That's the cops.
100% that was the police.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
zip
you can
tied
never
to a
be too
piece of,
safe.
it's zip tied to the cardboard so that they can put the ruler there. I
Maybe
guess.
they'd move the piece of cardboard around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look
The
what
best
we
part-
got. We got this really dangerous firearm off the street that will never work.
If I remember reading it, like I read it earlier this week, didn't they not try and fire? Like they didn't fire. They don't know what caliber it was, right?
No, I thought it says 22.
Did it say? Oh,
It's a
sorry.
22 caliber,
Yeah.
but the police did not attempt to fire the home 3D printed pistol. And they did recover a blank 22 from like an expended
that's
blank 22 cartridge from his home. Although they're not sure if
Charged
it's
with a
from his
nail
3D
gun.
printed gun or his nail gun, which I assume he also registered under the Firearms Act.
Yeah,
Well, nail gun blank, and a pellet gun, and a pellet from a pellet gun can set off tannerite.
really?
I mean,
Allegedly.
good to know, I
Allegedly,
guess.
YouTube it.
Thought it has to be a certain speed to ignite tannerite, but anyways.
Yeah. So putting a BB pellet through a 22, I'm pretty sure.
Well,
I'm pretty sure someone put this on YouTube. Out.
probably got taken
East.
down.
I don't know.
Interesting.
My point is more that criminals don't follow gun laws.
Agreed.
On the outside, they're going to find a way to ban 3D printers. So, suck it, 3D printer nerds.
We know a couple of those.
Well, as soon as they ban 3D printers, I'm sure that they're going to ban Home Depot from selling Schedule 40 pipe.
Yeah.
Like, you definitely don't want me making a Sten gun in my garage, allegedly.
Yeah.
Saves just one life, though. Come on.
Let's go on to some good gun news.
I like this guy.
This is in Medicine Hat News. I like this guy too. It's MP Glenn Motz. Motz talks a lot of shit as an MP, and I appreciates that.
Yeah, he was at. He actually spoke at TACOM at length. Really good. He's definitely a guy that we like having in our corner.
So the article is Liberals take on guns, just hype and rhetoric. Motz.
Mm-hmm.
I like this position because it's an MP saying all the things that we've been saying as gun owners for the past year, that what the Liberals are doing. Well, specifically about this new law that's going to be coming, that they're going to try and make through an order in council. Orders in council are not supposed to be used like this. This is not a democratic process. This is not how we're supposed to pass laws in this country. Orders in council are dumb. This is not what they were meant for. You're like circumventing the correct political process, and you're not doing anything to actually address the problem. The Liberals are not targeting guns. They're not targeting illegal guns being smuggled into the country. They're not targeting gangs. They're not targeting drug dealers that are carrying these illegal guns that are smuggled into the country. They're blaming law-abiding hunters and farmers and sport shooters. Right, so I'm really glad that Motz is there, and I'm glad he's saying these things because he's talking about like the military-style semi-automatic assault weapons already being banned in Canada because we can't have assault weapons here. We can't have machine guns in this country, which is ridiculous. I should absolutely be able to have all of the machine guns. Why not? It's a gun. But I've made this point on the show so many times. It's a gun. A gun is a gun is a gun. It doesn't matter what it does. It doesn't matter how it works. It doesn't matter the type of action. I should be able to have a fully automatic, suppressed, short barrel, 50 caliber assault machine pistol because it doesn't matter. It's a gun. It doesn't matter. If I'm able to have one, I should have as many as I want because I'm not hurting anybody with it, and if I can afford them, it's private property that I'm using for my own enjoyment. What does it matter? I'm glad Motz is on our side with this.
Yeah, he's also, as it says in the article, the main proponent that started the current petition, that e-petition that's going around. By the way, go sign it if you haven't signed it already.
He is the sponsor for E1234. That's not the number. I never get them in the right order.
It's 2341. It says in the article.
Yeah, there you go. 2341.
Yep. I believe it hit 80,000 over the weekend. From
good.
last thing
80,000.
I read.
2.2 million gun owners. I sound like a broken record. I said this last week. 2.2 million gun owners, and we've got 80,000 signatures. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Where's the other million people?
I'm still convinced that a large proponent of those are people who really don't care and have done it for work. Either whether they're what's it called, anyone who is required for their job to have a firearms license. They probably aren't interested in guns. They just did it because they need to, get a gun license.
Maybe you're right, but I don't think that's a large number of people. I think that this is more of a problem of apathetic hunters, people who go out and shoot a deer once a year or go out duck hunting once a year. And I feel like that they're not involved and invested in what's going on in the news, because I have had the opportunity to talk to some of these people and they don't know, like they just don't know what's going on.
No,
because they're not invested. They're not a member of a gun club. They're not involved in this. They go out once a year because they've gone out once a year with their dad forever, or their dad's dad, or whatever, and they shoot Bambi, and then that's their entire involvement with guns. Is they fire like 3 rounds a year with their deer rifle.
Yeah, one of my best friends that I work with, him and his whole family, they have their gun license, and they're exactly what you just described. They go hunting once a year, and the only news on firearms and any kind of prohibitions that might be coming down the pipe they get from me. I'm the only one that's keeping up on it. They have no idea, and they don't care. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think that's probably the vast majority of gun owners, because I think a lot of these people are farmers that are busy being farmers, or hunters that do it once a year as like a hobby thing because it's like a tradition in their family.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, guys' weekend, or it's something you did with granddad, or what have you. It's not a lifestyle for them the same way that it is for, I hazard to say, everyone on tonight's panel.
Yeah, I think the total number of peace officers in Canada can't be more than 100,000 tops.
Security guards, peace officers.
Even then, I mean, there's only like maybe, was it 20,000 RCMP officers? I mean, that's the bulk of the federal policing in Canada. So I mean, like, there still leaves a lot of people that could sign that petition that don't, right? And so I mean,
well, you don't have to have your license to sign it. I mean, I got a bunch
true.
of my family members to sign it, and a bunch of other people just on my Facebook friends list to sign it that aren't gun owners, but believe in the fact that this is this represents everything about not destroying the democratic process, and whether you like guns or not.
The problem with it is that if we believe in private property, and maybe as the world's first post-nationalist state, what did Trudeau call us? The first post-national country?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I can't say post-nationalist. That has connotations of white supremacy.
Does that mean we love the UN?
States. Yes, we love the UN.
Well, we don't.
Iron in the butt.
Lube.
Yeah, we don't, but our leader does.
Well,
I see blue helmets.
The one
God help me.
but anyway. So as the world's first post-national state, if we don't want to have private property and we're just going to go like faux global homo socialism, then okay. But maybe we could have some laws passed about that, have it debated in Parliament. I don't expect that to pass because like the system is rigged against me. Like I get that the system is rigged.
But give us at least the semblance of a fight,
like,
right?
At least pretend to follow the process.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, alternatively, just tell me the process is no longer in play and we're moving on to this new system of like full
do
on
as I say.
100% AIDS, global homo, like
rule by decree.
You just don't get private property.
Do as
Everyone
I say,
get in the
not as I do.
gulag. Well, like if there, but I mean, like really, if like this is, I would rather be. I screw this guy's name up every time I say it. The guy that wrote Gulag Archipelago, Solzhenitsyn. Solzhenitsyn. Thank you. Yes, him. Yes, but that's what I mean. Like, if they're just like, comrade, get in the gulag, at least like we could be honest about that. Because, like, I mean, let's be honest here. If anybody's going to the gulag, it's probably me.
Well, yeah, a few of us on this panel, and
I was gonna say
all
the cool kids will be there. It'll be great.
Yeah, it'll be a good time.
It'll be cool, all right.
It'll be like Colonel Klink and what's that show called?
I know nothing.
Hogan's Heroes.
Hogan's Heroes, yeah.
But yeah,
playing pranks and having a grand old time.
Just a moment, please. I just need to grab my hat before we head up north. I'm good.
You guys enjoy your POW camp. I'll be in the other one.
yeah, I could see that. Like,
if I see you guys, I know I've got a fighting chance.
Yeah.
This is my complaint with this though. Like, if we're gonna have like full on communism, like, can we at least just be honest and be like, yeah, we're just doing communism now. Fuck the rule of law. Fuck parliamentary process. We're not doing any of that. It doesn't, like, stop putting the circus on and just like get on with it.
But that's how you get the masses to fall for it.
Oh yeah, that's the thing, right? If they said that, then we would actually have something then we would have a stand, right? We would make a stand.
And
if
I get
they
that.
just
This is
pull
like the
outside.
boil the frog thing, right? Like you got to turn the temperature up a little bit at a time, otherwise people notice.
Yeah.
But I'm not getting any younger. I'm certainly not getting any better looking.
Yeah,
If we're gonna like get into a shooting war, sooner would be better.
agreed.
Yeah, aged scars do look better than fresh scars.
I know. I still don't need glasses yet. I would like to get it. I would like to get this over with before my vision goes. And I can still make those 500-yard shots.
As the best 200-meter deliberate shooter in the country, I would like to point out to the government that I have a lot of guns and I'm very good at this.
And as the best rundown shooter
Uh-oh.
from 500.
That's right. Dave's
I will
going to get
chase
really
after you.
close to you.
I'm going to run after you until I get every last one of you.
In Minecraft with due process.
Please keep in
Like
mind,
that,
CPP is a
talking
entertainment
facetiously,
show
of course.
This
only.
is an entertainment
It's for
podcast,
entertainment
not legal
purposes.
advice.
Strictly being facetious here.
That's right. In Minecraft with due process. Unfortunate news. Let's go to something that didn't happen in Minecraft. It had instead happened in Scarborough. This is in the Toronto Sun. Man killed as bullets fly through patio door in Scarborough home. A 25-year-old man in Scarborough was killed Sunday this past week when somebody shot him in a home that wasn't his through the patio door. It's almost like criminals don't follow gun laws.
I didn't read the article, to be honest, but I feel like a lot of shootings happen in like 4 or 5 neighborhoods in Toronto. Like Toronto sucks. Yes, I completely agree with your idea, Andrew, of walling it off and flooding it.
Build a wall, make the lake bigger.
But you know, it really does like boil down to 1 or 2 areas that are where all these things happen. Scarborough,
I mean, I
Jane
wouldn't
and Finch.
blame.
Well, it's not really
them.
Jane and Finch anymore. It's Jane and Lawrence, that area.
Jane
it's
and
not-
Lawrence, Jane and Finch, parts of Scarborough, parts of Mississauga.
Mhm.
There are problem neighborhoods in the Greater Toronto area where if you look at the crime map, look up where the shootings and the homicides happen, and they're concentrated in particular areas. And I feel like there's a reason why they're in those particular areas. And again, I've talked about this before on the show. Profiling is a thing that we could enable our police officers to do if sketchy looking people are in sketchy places at sketchy times doing sketchy things.
Like going
But
around
that
to the
would
back
have
of the
to allow.
house.
Well, but I mean, that would have to say we have to get past this whole like everybody's going to call you a racist for saying this, but like if you're out at this was like 2:30 in the morning in Scarborough.
Yeah, 2 a.m. sneaking around the back of the house.
So if you're out sneaking around in Scarborough at 2 in the morning, maybe the local constabulary should stop you and frisk you and ask for ID.
Hey, what's up? What are you guys up to on this fine night where it's -3 and raining torrential downpours and whatnotty?
So
What you doing?
I don't know what the previous policy was, but frisking, I don't know. But asking for ID, I think is
Yeah, that's the carding.
No, carding is racist.
well.
You're talking about carding when you ask for ID.
Carding
and
is
that-
Right.
racist.
So,
Ask
I'm
the mayor of
opposed to
Toronto.
frisking someone.
Quit
Like,
assuming my.
none of your business was in my
identity.
pocket, but
I
to ask me
mean,
for ID.
yes and no, but like if I'm going to have an interaction with a law enforcement officer, because like I mean it's me, right? So like Buddy's going to be like, "Hey, do you have anything on you that could hurt me?" I'd be like,
Yes.
"Well, I got a
Yeah.
knife in this pocket, and I got a knife in that pocket, and I got a knife in this other pocket."
I just don't
Like-
understand how they get around this fact when, like, if you're in a car, you're immediately, you have to hand it over, right?
Because you're using the King's roads, or pardon me, the Queen's roads.
But you're
Traveling on the
technically-
Queen's highway is a privilege, not a right, son.
But technically, owning land is a privilege, not a right in this country because there's property tax, right?
Wait, so isn't healthcare right? I'm so confused.
Yeah.
I just want to get my balls waxed.
And point of order there, Dave. You don't own property; you rent it off the Queen.
That's what I mean. So
Yeah.
therefore, Hand over the
need a
goddamn
pot
card,
and
I
a
wanna
lot
know
of-
who you
lot of
are.
candles.
you know what I mean? You're on the Queen's land. Give me ID, or you coming with
Render
me to
unto
the station.
Caesar.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I mean, this is like in my opinion, and I know this is not a popular opinion in Toronto because it affects marginalized use you should be able to card people.
I don't
Because
know.
if you're out at 2 a.m, maybe the local constabulary should be like, hey, who you be?
Guess
Show
what?
me your papers.
Guess what?
Because,
in
yeah,
my
you know
younger
what?
years, I maybe wasn't the most, I
All of us
kept
were
good
like
grades and stuff, and guess what? I got stopped by the police once when me and some buddies were walking around on Devil's Night, and we got asked for ID. And guess what? We were up to no good. We had. I just didn't get in trouble because I didn't have the actual backpack full of stuff we were about to throw. I got told
Allegedly.
allegedly. I got charged with nothing, so whatever. But
But I mean, like, that's the and
I have
there's
if you
like,
have nothing to hide, I have no problem handing an officer my ID because I know I'm not doing anything wrong.
I do, because that whole like nothing to hide thing is a very slippery slope.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we should be like,
It is. I mean, obviously, it gets to a point. It's like, here's my ID. I have now identified who I am. You've looked me up in your computer. I don't have any outstanding warrants.
Right.
Am I free to go?
After
That's it.
that, if
Am I
there's
free
no-
to go?
if
Yeah,
there's
am
no-
I
exactly.
being
keep you.
detained?
Am I being detained? Exactly. But I gave you the card, right?
But that's the thing is like even like you're up to like some mischief as a high schooler. That's different than like you have a bag full of narcotics that you're trying to sell illegally.
Yeah.
Or you're walking around with your burner to go and cap some other homie because he's encroaching upon your turf where you sell your illegal narcotics. I don't know if I'm using the street language correctly. I feel
think
like
it's-
I'm
it's-
not.
I feel like
Stay
you're
I
strapped or
understand
get
what you're
clapped.
saying.
But I mean, like that's kind of like
Ian, isn't the clap some kind of disease?
No.
snitches get stitches, something
Yeah,
like that.
stay strapped or get clapped. That's totally something different.
and I'm okay with staying strapped or getting clapped. I mean, I just
I think we're all
I feel
for it on
like
this
the
show.
police should have the tools to do their job effectively. And if you're out in the middle of the night in a place that it doesn't make sense for you to be, like I'm not saying they should stop you when you're walking down the street, but maybe when you're walking through this, in this case, in this Scarborough neighborhood where the shooting occurred, this weird little like chain link fence, 8-foot wide walkway thing behind some people's houses.
That's the thing. There's due process,
Maybe
right?
they should ask what you're doing there, because that's a weird place to go for a walk at 2 a.m.
Yeah, like I said, I don't. Nobody. If you weren't in the GTA on Saturday night, the weather was atrocious. Why are you outside right now, sneaking around the house? It's like
Yes.
freezing rain outside all day,
Maybe
all
he's
night.
getting a Subway sandwich.
Right, and maybe he is, and that should be an easy explanation, being like, "Hey, I'm walking to Subway, yo, I live over here," and the cop's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, really? Do you have ID that says you live over here? Oh, you do. All right. Well, enjoy your sandwich. Have a nice night."
Yeah.
Like
End of
it doesn't
discussion.
need to be a confrontational like exercise, but the cops should have the tools to do their job, like to enforce the law, because like
I
we've
mean,
seen in
I mean,
Toronto,
this
since
is the
Harding went
alternative.
away,
This is the alternative.
we're 1 week, we're 2 weeks into the new year, and we've had two homicides in Toronto.
We had a homicide on the freaking first weekend of the year. It was like barely the new year.
That's what
There
I
was
mean.
already a
Like,
homicide.
These people in the GTA can't go a week without killing one another over their drugs and prostitutes and money and other assorted
It was
illicit
supposed to be one of the
business
happiest days.
practices.
One of the happiest days in Toronto when the Toronto Raptors were having their parade. They still couldn't keep their shit together and started shooting at each other in the middle of like 2 million people. Like it's just they don't care. It's just crime
Well,
all the time.
Let's be particular with who doesn't care. It's the gangbangers that don't care.
Yeah.
It's the same people that are not following the gun laws. It's the same people with their illegal guns that are smuggled in from the U.S. It's the same
Stealing
people that are
narcotics.
trafficking in humans. It's the same people that are trafficking in narcotics.
Mhm.
Like,
But
build
it's
a wall,
cruelly
make the lake
unusual
bigger.
to put them in prison.
Well, I have an alternative solution.
Hemp
If-
is the answer.
Oak makes the
Oh.
finest beams.
Pull of Duterte.
Ah, so you're making the lake deeper.
That's right.
All right, let's go on to Rednexit. Wexiters rally at Alberta legislator to push for secession. I, for one, welcome our new Alberta overlords.
We do. How many
I
people
just
showed
want-
up to this little festivity?
I don't know what the number is. I did watch some Facebook live streams. Sean Arnson.
Arnson.
Arnson?
Arnson.
Arnson?
Yep.
Arnsten. I'm a big fan. I follow that fellow on the Facebook. He's a PPCLI combat vet. He says he's a retired corporal, which is, I mean, an interesting thing to lay claim to, but I like the dude. I enjoy his Instagrams.
I'm a retired
I enjoy his Facebook. Are you? See, I wasn't retired. I feel like Sean might have actually been like medically retired from service.
Oh no, I'm not retired. I'm discharged, honorably discharged.
Right. Right. So the honorable discharge is different than retirement. But anyway, I like Sean. I like the things he's doing. I enjoyed him on the Wexit podcast. So I guess if you have not filled your podcast schedule with enough extremely right-wing media like us, because we've regularly been accused of being white supremacists and other nonsensical things. You should probably go and listen to the Red River podcast with Peter Downing. He's the fellow that runs the Wexit movement. I see Jenny. I see Jenny's got
white
his official,
supremacist.
his official white supremacist headgear on now. That's good. That's
For our listeners, I'm wearing my yarmulke or kippah. Yeah, I'm an Orthodox Jew.
I think you mean Yarmulke.
I have yet to hear that one.
Isn't that what the Orange Man said? I'm pretty sure the Orange Man called it a Yarmulke on national TV. But
I can imagine.
That's okay. His kids are Jewish, not him. It's fine. Close enough. Anyway, if you're not listening to the Red River podcast with Peter Downing, you should probably go and listen to that. You should probably listen to episode 2 with Sean, because he does a good job of laying out a bunch of veterans things that we're doing a shitty job in Canada of looking after our veterans. We're doing a shitty job of looking after vets with mefloquine poisoning. We're doing a shitty job of looking after our vets with PTSD. Veterans Affairs Canada is kind of a joke. Sorry for the couple of guys I know that work at Veterans Affairs that actually care and actually do a good job. But like in general, Veterans Affairs Canada is kind of a joke. I look forward to when Alberta secedes. I've made the comment before on the show, and I'll make it again. The country is too large to be governed from a place like Ottawa. We are no less than 4 distinct national identities. It's a big, big geographic landmass, and if Russia keeps on shrinking, then soon we'll be first. Well,
Yeah.
Somebody has to listen to the arrogant worms.
History was made by stupid people, I understand, too.
History was made by stupid people. That is true. No, so like, it's a big landmass, and we have no less than, like, I count no less than 4 unique national identities in this country.
I'd even say there's 6.
I could be convinced that there's 6. It would not take a lot to convince me. But you can't run something of this size from Ottawa, and you certainly can't keep taking things from Alberta and giving it to Quebec and calling it fair. Hello?
My only problem is that I don't understand how this is going to be more successful than the Bloc Québécois. Like, so they're going to get all the votes in Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, probably part of BC. They're never going to form a government. So I just don't understand why he didn't start with the provincial aspect first to gain control of Alberta and Saskatchewan or whatever, and then work his way federally. Like, because I mean, I don't see this going very far, other than making people less angry because they voted in their Brexit guy.
I think that there's the opportunity to do it in. Sorry, go ahead, Benny.
I was going to say, like, I'm not so familiar with the Quebecois. I'm the youngest guy here, I think. I'm not so familiar with the whole Quebec trying to secede. I just know they've always wanted to do it. But for whatever reason, I feel like they have been overrepresented in the Canadian government, in Canada in general. They make up
Quebec massively.
They have way too many seats.
Quebec has like 20% of the seats in the country.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But Quebec also has a huge amount of the population of the country.
But also,
like
most of my life,
and Ontario
the leaders of our government have come from Quebec. Like
that's because you can't be the prime minister if you're not bilingual, because you won't get elected.
So,
like, you have to speak French in this country to run this country. Otherwise, Quebec won't vote for you.
And if John Chrétien can teach us anything, is you don't have to speak English well, as long as you speak English.
Right. So, like,
if John Chrétien can teach us anything, it's the Shawinigan swing. Hey, fuck around and find out, eh?
Cocksucker.
So, like, what they want to be independent because they're pompous French fools. Like, what gripe do they have?
They've never wanted to be.
I would never call Quebec pompous French fools, but they do refer to their provincial government as the National Assembly. So,
Okay, so start off back in the day when the Plains of Abraham happened, and the British defeated the French basically due to lack of supply ships showing up on time on the French side. So when they actually took over Quebec, they were outnumbered 10-1. So they came up with some legislation to appease the newly acquired territory and people, and went downhill from there. I don't think they've ever actually wanted to separate since. They've just used it as a bargaining chip to get more political power and money. So even back in the 80s, when I watched that first separation referendum go down, it was like 50.1% to stay. It was just political ploy. That's all it was.
Mhm.
They were never going to separate.
Right. So I think that Alberta actually has something they want and something they'll push for, and it's not a ploy. It's they really don't. They've been put in the pit and they want to get out.
Yeah, so they'd be better off just running the province of Alberta and asking to join Montana or legally seceding rather than trying to play the federal politics game, which I don't understand what the end game is.
Yeah, they're
with the
never
federal
going to get what
party.
they want, especially
No.
with the ass clown that's in charge. Like,
And the best you could hope for is to split the vote, which would allow more Liberals to win more seats. Just like I think there were 6 or 7 seats that could have been won by the Conservatives. Not that it would have made a difference, but the People's Party of Canada did create enough of a vote split in 6 seats to cause a loss. So it's be more so with the Brexit Party. You're going to see all of that blue field in the prairies is going to have some red spackling in it because you can split the vote.
Yeah, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah,
If
it's not going to help.
But if they can make that a separate referendum, I don't know how that works here. I don't know how it works anywhere, actually, to be honest. But if they can make that a separate issue that you're voting for, instead of it being a separate party, if you make it a referendum on just that, instead of turning the parliamentary election into a referendum, make a referendum on this, and then you'll see what people really feel. Because
so
then they're
Jason
not.
Kenney could run a referendum on this, but he's not going to because, as previously discussed, Jason Kenney is a cuck.
He's a federalist, and the funny thing is they didn't
Well,
let the
same thing.
they didn't let the entire country vote on Quebec separation, or else they would have been gone already.
Yeah.
But so they made
Forcibly removed.
yeah, they only let people in Quebec vote, but I don't think they're going to let people in Alberta vote. They're going to make this like, oh, we'll let the whole nation vote as to whether or not Alberta should leave,
Yeah, well,
and they'll
the thing
never be
is-
allowed to.
Yeah, you know what? And maybe
Trudeau's-
they will, but it doesn't matter because that's not how the Constitution Act works in this country. Alberta gets the vote on whether they stay or go. They can leave Confederation. They just need to pass a majority in their province.
Which is what they should do rather than federal.
Like I said,
You
well,
know,
federally, nothing's
absolutely
going to
they
happen. Justin, according to Justin, doesn't think that there is a problem.
Trudeau.
He doesn't think that there's
I
a
really
problem.
hope I
There's
get that
nothing's
soon.
going to happen in Ottawa, like whatsoever. You're talking to a wall.
He
as
also
far as
thinks
Justin
that
is
gun
concerned.
bans are
A
going to
wall with a
work.
beard.
Yeah, oh, punch that beard right off his goddamn face. But anyway,
Well, no, I think it's just going to boil down to either like a provincial run party or the fourth box. That's what it's going to boil down to. That's the only way we're going to let them separate is if they actually like go violent or go political locally, because they're not going to be able to do it federally.
Yeah, you
No.
can't. It's not going to happen at the federal level. It needs to be done at the provincial level. But you know what? Having another party, good for the Wexit guys. They're getting that done. Good for getting the signatures. Like, it's a fine step, but it's a step. You need to control the provinces. You need to put this to a referendum, and you need to exit Confederation, because we live in a confederation of convenience. We shouldn't be a country. We're certainly not a serious country, and we're not less than 4 national identities. We shouldn't, like, Canada in its current incarnation should not exist. It is a geopolitical abnormality that we formed a country. It shouldn't have happened. And I'm amazed that it has existed for as long as it has, but it shouldn't have taken place in the first place.
with all its differences, it never made sense.
Well, it's a confederation of convenience. It's very good for certain aspects of trade and certain financial aspects, but in terms of like a national identity or a homogenous country, it doesn't make sense. It's too big. It's too politically different. You have very different aspects between both coasts, although you have coastal lifestyles that come into play on both sides. But the East Coast and the West Coast are completely different. The prairies, and Southern Ontario are completely different, and you have Quebec doing its own thing. Plus, you have all of our problems that we have across the country with our native Canadians that are underserved by the federal government. That we have all of our problems that happen with all of our difficulties with Northern Canada because it's so remote and nothing grows there. Like, we as a country shouldn't exist. If this was like, if we were part of the European landmass, this would not have formed a country. This would be like 8 different countries, like Northern Europe is.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, on to the rapid fire feedback.
Do it.
First, I would like
Apparently,
to thank.
apparently it's juicy this week.
It's long this week. I could use some help reading if I have a volunteer in the audience. And by audience, I mean panel. First, thank you to Michael H. for becoming a Patreon. Thank you, Michael H. Second, 2 corrections, so I guess second and third. Last week, I misspoke on 2 occasions. When I was reading the Ottawa Citizen article, I said that Canadians were in Afghanistan training Iraqis. That does not make any sense. I was drinking.
Get over it.
That's the story I'm going with.
You know what I meant.
The Ottawa Citizen article that I was trying to read, Canadian troops were in Iraq training Iraqis. We're also in Afghanistan training Afghanis, but that's a different thing, not in that article. Second correction, my mistake. I mistakenly called Hezbollah Sunni when they are in fact Shia Muslims. A difference with almost no distinction, but
to them it's a big deal.
You want to get beheaded?
Except
Yeah,
for when it comes to killing my people.
Well,
they're more than
lots of
happy
people,
to get. They're more than happy to get along when it comes to killing my people. As is proof is in the pudding. Since 87, 88, 48. Sorry. Yeah.
48. I think is what we're looking for here.
Anytime there was discontent in the Middle East, well, you got another war.
Yeah, so I mistakenly called Hezbollah Sunni Muslims when they are in fact Shia Muslims. So my bad. Did anybody else want to take a crack at these? We got a couple of long emails, guys.
I can do Todd's there.
Okay, I can do the next one.
All right,
Super.
you got email from Todd, which the subject is assassination. Andrew.
Dun dun dun.
Da, da, da. I was having a good time with the memes about that douche that went on to a well-deserved dirt nap until you approached the subject last night. He made me realize that a lot of our values and morals were seriously bent doing this. I did some more reading and research away from the 2 extremes, and it supports your stance. I'm the first guy to enjoy seeing these bastards die, but this broke laws and is a huge strategic risk. To the point, I would have to ask why it was done. Possibilities? 1. Simple wag the dog move. Trump thinks it will play well into his base for re-election. The evidence against this is that he's not react to the oil tanker nonsense, the shooting down of the drone, and the other fuckery the mullahs are up to. It's true, they did actually instigate quite a bit there.
Yeah, they did.
Possibility 2, Trump is doing it to take the focus away from the impeachment. No. Anyways, I think this is a reach as it's putting more heat in the opposition than him. Or 3, the neocons got his ear and has decided to continue the PNAC doctrine and finish off North Korea and Iran. They are the only 2 left standing. If so, very bad news, as this means best another decade of war or a real short world war, if you know what I mean. Also, it shows that not much has changed. Time will tell. Number 4, he got played by the neocons and overreached about the embassy and made a tactical error with the best of intentions. If so, poor judgment. Number 5, Israel did it. We'll get back to that, Benny. And it was decided that the U.S. took the credit in order to avert a direct and immediate Middle East war. Israel has to deal with that asshole for some time, and we have everything to gain from this. If it was found that they did this, it would be attacked on all sides. 6, this one is the scariest. One theory being proposed is that what Trump didn't order it. If true, or revealed, it would show a huge rogue deep state in that would risk world war, and Trump can't be public about it or he looks very inept and weak. Anyways, my 2 cents, and we certainly live in interesting times. From Todd.
I feel like 6 is like way out to lunch.
I mean, yes and no. I think that the Orange Man is not completely in touch with reality. I had really high hopes for him when he became the president, but he has proved to be rather inept at his job. So it would not surprise me that he was coached into doing this or tricked into doing this, or otherwise someone in a position of military and political power did this, and as a face-saving move, the Americans are just owning it.
Well, yeah, no, because I mean, like, I think we talked pre-show that, I mean, it was back in 2000. I think it was 2011. Obama declared this guy to be a terrorist, and the Quds Association to be a terrorist organization was like back in 2007. So it's not like he didn't have cause per se, but I don't know. Like I said, there was a
Why
lot of
now?
yeah, but
There's a lot
why
of why
now?
now being asked.
Unless there was just an
that's
opportunity.
kind of my thing is like, why now? Why are we doing this? Why are we?
They must
Why are
have
the
tabs on
Americans
him at all
inviting-
times.
But like, why are the Americans inviting the like heads of foreign militaries to come to countries that they're in the middle of occupying to have discussions and then being like, "Psych, blew you up."
Hey, we got a pallet of money waiting for you at the airport. Meet me there.
Lots of gold.
It worked last time.
That's right. I mean, the pallet of money went from Obama last time, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. I haven't heard
don't
this
support
invitation
that option either, right? Like
news except from you guys. So who reported that he was invited there by the U.S.?
I did
I've
read
read
that
in
somewhere.
multiple U.S. outlets that he was invited there by the Americans for some sort of discussion or negotiation about the future of Iraq. And I don't know that they necessarily specifically invited him, but they invited like Iran to participate. So maybe it's like happy coincidence that this is the guy that Iran sent.
Or they're just like, the future does not include you.
Well, and could be, but I mean, like this was in, and again, how much of this is like stuff that we trust because it's in the American media? I mean, like I don't trust the media on the best of days. I don't trust the American media as far as I can throw them. Like I am sure that there is more information to this story than what is being reported, and a lot of this is like anonymous sources, and I don't have any faith in anonymous sources. Like,
Can someone explain 3 to me?
The
PNAC doctrine?
neocons got his ear and have decided to continue the PNAC doctrine and finish off North Korea and
What's
Iraq.
PNAC?
Project for the Project for the New American Century.
Yeah.
Is this going back to like
So
a central bank zone, everybody?
No, it basically boils down to a bunch of neocons that had a think tank going on, and they decided that what was best for the world from here on in.
The New World Order.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I mean, kind of, yeah. This is
So
like
it's
Bill
the
Crystal and Robert
Jews.
Kagan and. Well, I mean, is Bill Crystal a Jew? He might be.
Well,
I mean, maybe, but I mean that being
said,
Jewish
I don't
doesn't
think-
make you a neocon, and being a neocon doesn't make you Jewish. But that's beside the point.
Yeah, I think with this whole thing though, there's a lot more going on in the background that we may not ever find out
Well,
about.
and that's kind of my thing is like I don't trust what's being reported on this, and I don't trust these anonymous sources because anybody can be an anonymous source, or anybody could just be making that crap up.
Yeah, like, am I angry that he's gone? Not really. He was probably a pretty terrible human being from all accounts that I'm reading. But at the same time, was this really necessary right now? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it was really needed. Hard to say. So.
Well, do you want to do the next one then, Dave? Or are you doing the
Sure.
next one?
Yeah, sure. I can do the next one. This is from Dean. Subject: last week's episode. Let me clear my throat here. I can't tell you how disappointed I am, and I'm only halfway through last week's episode. I expect to hear this on the CBC. Ouch. But I never expected to hear this from you, calling President Trump an asshole, whining about them killing a terrorist that is organized militias in 5 different countries to kill either Americans or Muslims. Same guy that organized militias in Iraq taught them to make IEDs that resulted in the killing of over 600 Americans. In just the week prior, they killed an American and organized an attack on the U.S. Embassy. They finally get this guy out in the open with nobody around in Iraq, and mind you, and pull the trigger to make him out to take him out. And you guys whine because you're so afraid there might be retaliation from the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. How many punches do you take in the face before you punch back? Maybe you think the Obama doctrine was working. Maybe send them more pallets of cash. Or maybe the U.S. should have retaliated by hitting a couple of refineries or killing the guys that are sweeping the floor on night shift. And now that there isn't going to be a war and the strategy worked, are you guys going to talk on your show this week about how you were wrong, how wrong you were? I'm the only so disappointed because I like you guys so much. I never expected you to side with the shrill left and start talking about how assassinations are just wrong. strong deterrence is a way to stay out of war, not a way to start wars, and it worked this time. Sort yourselves out and be better. All the best, Dean, Patreon and a fan of the show. Well,
You want to keep going? There's a follow up.
oh, there's a
I can-
follow-up. Sorry. Okay. Dean, sorry. Holy shit, part 2. Still listening to last week's episode, you actually sound like an Iranian sympathizer. I quote, Iran is rightfully pissed. I quote, they throw gays off of buildings. Maybe that's right or wrong, but at least there is a serious country. Did you get dropped on your head? Hopefully this was just bad night, because honestly, this shitty conversation is going to be on the internet forever. By the way, Hezbollah, I believe it's Hezbollah, but anyway, is Shia. Without the US, we'd all be speaking either Russian or German. Actually, most likely Russian. They are our best friends, and they would do anything for us. I'm so sick of listening to people bash the United States. Once again, grip yourself. You're wrong. Don't know where you come from, but where I come from, we support our friends. You all sound like a bunch of scared schoolgirls. Yes, now you're talking about how you're supporting the NDP. Dude, the wheels have fell off the wagon. Apparently, best regards, Dean, and Patreon. That, I believe, is all. Where do we start?
So from our discussions offline, off the podcast, and hearing what you said on the podcast, I think boiling it down, your issue isn't at the U.S. striking back at Iran. Your issue is the way they went about it. If they had chosen someone that appeared to be more of a legitimate figurehead to you, say one of the mullahs or something. Not that I know of anyone in the Iranian government to point at, but except for them. Let's say they went and they blew them up. That would seem more in line with what you were saying. You weren't. It didn't sound like you were pro-Iran or anti-America. You just didn't like anti-America fighting back, punching back, as Dean said. I think it was Dean. But
Yeah, Dean.
Yeah, so I mean, most of this
but
is
like
aimed
you
at
said,
my comments
inviting
from last week.
a guy over, like you said, let's say they invited some 2-bit minister over, they put the label on his head, and then decided to take him out, and then said, hey, well, look, we he's a terrorist leader. We said he's a terrorist leader, and now we want to blow him up. If he's not actually a terrorist leader, then yes, I 100% agree with what you're saying. It just seems like Dean is more in line with what I'm thinking, which is that he really was a terrorist leader, and yes, he was attached to a legitimate government, but he was running several terrorist organizations, and well, we have to take them out every way they can.
Yeah, okay. So most of this is aimed at me from last week, and I'm fine with that because I don't support Iran, and I don't support the NDP. Although I can agree with politicians when they're right, and in the case of the NDP, not starting another war in the Middle East,
Pretty good
I'm
idea.
okay with that. Where like the Americans have already not finished their last war in the Middle East. I don't need like me and my countrymen fighting another war in the Middle East. Like Kipling wrote a poem about Afghanistan in 1890. People from my ilk have been fighting in that part of the world for 140 years. We don't need to keep doing that. Like we don't. It's not my problem.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe this dude is a bad dude, and maybe the Americans are right in calling him a terrorist. But just because the Americans call you a terrorist doesn't make it so. And that's kind of my problem with this. Is like, if the media reports that I've read are accurate, that the Americans invited this guy to Iraq. Oh no, my headset just died.
I can still hear you.
Nope. He guys probably just can't hear himself right now. So
Yeah.
Rant paused.
yeah. No, I mean, like the thing is about supporting the NDP. Even a broken clock is right twice a day, right?
Well,
So
yeah.
I mean, occasionally, if they come up with a point that you happen to agree with, don't let the fact that they're NDP.
Doesn't make you NDP in the slightest.
No,
for sure.
no, exactly.
I can pretty much say that the majority of people in this country, after the past 15 years since 2001, have lost their fervor for going over there for no fucking reason. We don't need to be over there. The states can do whatever they want, in my opinion. Taking that guy out, fine, but we should not be starting any more wars. We're still not finished the first this first spat of basically 20 years worth of still fucking around over there.
Yeah, because we weren't decisive enough to end it quickly anyway, right?
Exactly.
Sorry.
So
I got my head fixed. Fixed.
Continue. I
So,
said my little
yeah.
spiel. Continue.
Oh, I missed your spiel. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
good news, I
basically,
got my
yeah.
head fixed. So, yeah, I don't think that assassinating foreign dignitaries for any reason is acceptable. And if this dude was that bad, why not blow him up in Iran? Why did he need to be in Iraq? Why are we suddenly trying to start why are the Americans starting a war?
Logistically, it's easier. Why fly in over enemy territory? You have to find out where he is. You need assets on the ground.
But if he's that bad, why does it matter that it was easier?
Should have taken him out 10 years ago, no?
Shouldn't have funded him 20 years ago when the Americans were funding him to fight the precursor to ISIS. What's their name? Osama ran their group for a while. The Taliban.
Taliban, yeah.
Well, yeah, same difference. So, the Americans were funding this guy to go and fight their proxy war 20 years ago.
It's how we roll. It's how they roll, right? I mean, they funded everybody from Saddam Hussein to Omar Gaddafi and General Noriega at times. I mean, they always seem to turn around and arrest or shoot the person they were supporting 20 years before that. I mean,
and that's kind of my thing. Is American adventurism in the Middle East is not good international diplomacy. American adventurism in general seems to not work out very well for them. And I don't think that we Canadians should be being drawn into another war in the Middle East. We haven't finished our last war in the Middle East.
I honestly still never understood why we went to Iraq in the first place. I totally understood the Afghanistan thing. It's where Bin Laden was. We hunted him, found him, got him. Once he's dead,
did we go into Iraq?
What's that?
We currently have Canadian troops deployed to Iraq. Yes.
Now we do, but I'm saying
strictly for teaching only.
Yeah, it's a training exercise.
But 19 Saudis attacked, in 9/11. We didn't go to Saudi Arabia.
Well, and that's kind of the thing where I take exception to this email from Dean, because I mean, maybe I did not do a good job of presenting my point previously. Is that I don't think we should be engaging in more wars in the Middle East, because the Middle East is not my problems. We have enough problems in my country that we should be dealing with. We shouldn't be going and dealing with or starting wars in other countries for no good reason. But if we want to talk about state-sponsored terrorism, why are we constantly trading oil with the Kingdom of Saud? It's if you want to talk about state-sponsored terrorism, they're at least as involved in that as Iran is. I would argue that the Kingdom of Saud is actually more involved in state-sponsored terrorism than Iran is, but I certainly don't have the numbers to back that up.
No, I mean there's action in Yemen because of them too right now, right?
Right, and this is yes, deterrence is a good thing, and sometimes some people just need to be killed because that's how you deal with evil people. Sometimes you just need to kill them. I get that, but more American adventurism in the Middle East is, I don't think, a good international policy, and I certainly don't like the idea of just because the Americans say that you're a terrorist, they get to blow you up. That doesn't seem like how international relations should work.
Mm-hmm. So actually, Todd, in the comments on YouTube mentioned for number five. He said, "Hey Benny, I would understand if the Israelis got him. This guy controls Hezbollah, and they're assholes. So I would see that. I just feel like this isn't their style. The way the Israelis tend to work. Not that I'm not speaking as an expert in just historically, they seem to do it a little more one-on-one, make sure they hit their target kind of thing. They're not." Unless they're working in the Gaza Strip or the West Bank, they're generally doing close-in specific hits. To use an airstrike like this doesn't really strike me as something they would do. Again, that's not an expert opinion. That's just a feeling I have.
Yeah, I mean,
but I did see reports.
The
thing is, the Americans are big.
Americans didn't do this at the behest of somebody from the Israeli government.
So I did see reports that some of the intel was given from the Israelis, and like he says, if this guy's running Hezbollah, and they are the next threat that Israel's preparing for right now. So I could see them doing that. And I guess it looks better for Israel. It looks better for the Jews in America if this is the case. And Trump just said, no, we're doing this because they attacked our embassy and they're a bunch of a-holes.
Well, and that's the part that doesn't make sense to me is like a bunch of Iraqis attacked an embassy. They had a riot in front of an embassy. The Iraqis riot in front of the American embassy what feels like every week in Baghdad. I'm sure it's not that, but it feels like every week the Iraqis in Baghdad are rioting in front of the American embassy.
Do they ever get in and light it on? Like the lighting on fire at that point is moot. I think getting in is the issue.
Right, but like they don't breach the compound. That's the thing, and it's not like an organized military attack. It's a bunch of civilians with signs that are like "fuck Trump," but like in Arabic.
Right, but then this attack that did get in and they did breach the embassy walls, according to the news. Again, this is all based on what I heard on the news. If there really is a guy behind it, I think Todd has a. Is it Todd? No, Dean has a point. That at a certain point, you gotta punch back.
I worry that if that's how we're going to conduct international diplomacy, that now every time the Americans don't like the way somebody else behaves, that they just drone them.
They were doing that during the Obama years.
I know.
Supposedly,
Obama dropped 2,500 bombs in 7 countries, and
still fucking wasn't right.
But I don't agree with the current American regime. I don't agree with the previous American regime. I don't agree with the Americans going to war in Iraq over weapons of mass destruction that patently just like straight up do not and never did exist. Right? Like just because the New York Times ran a story every day for a month saying that the Iraqis had weapons of mass destruction does not make it true. The same way as if the CIA says that you're a terrorist doesn't make it true. Also, the whole like one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
Yeah.
Not saying the Iranians are good guys. Don't think that Salami. I love that we're calling this guy Salami now. By the way,
so much easier to pronounce and spell.
I don't think he's a good guy, but I also don't think that the American political machine should be making a determination of like who gets a 500-pound bomb dropped on them.
Well, just like we were talking about pre-show there, Andrew. I mean, just because we declared this guy to be a terrorist, I mean, the Iranians declared the U.S. Special Forces to be terrorists. Does that mean they could just go ahead and take out the head of the U.S. Special Forces at will? I mean,
what's stopping them?
That's
what they'd love to do, though. That's what they'd love to do.
Oh yeah, and if they did,
but they're not, because
they
know it would start a war, and that's my problem with this. Is like,
yeah.
I'm okay if we're gonna go and have like a shooting war with people because some people just need to be shot. I would just like to do it for a good reason after diplomacy fails. I don't want to go and spend blood and treasure and the lives of my countrymen because some politician couldn't do their fucking job.
So if instead of blowing up Salami, if they'd taken out the Iranian Navy, you think that'd be a more appropriate response?
No, I think the Americans starting any kind of shooting war with Iran is a bad idea.
Because all they have to do is let off a couple of missiles into the Strait of Hormuz, and then you've effed over the whole world energy supply there.
And that's my problem. Like, if the Iranians really want to do something like actually evil and actually cripple world economies, just sink everything in the strait.
Yeah, it's only 12 miles wide. I mean, they can pretty much they've got harpoons sitting right on the coastline, a bunch of missile batteries.
The Americans and the Brits and the Iranians went back and forth on tankers earlier this year, like in the summertime. The Brits took an Iranian tanker and the Iranians took a Brit tanker. They went back and forth on this a couple of times. But like, if you want to cripple world economies, unfortunately, the way the world is right now, it runs on oil. Just torpedo everything in the strait. That's going to cripple the world economy. You want to throw everything into chaos? Just torpedo all the boats in the Med, in the strait. That's your solution to like destroying all of the world economies, because all of the petrodollar stuff stops and all industry around the world grinds to a halt, except for like some stuff that China is doing because they have the option to pull some stuff out of Africa. Like starting another war in the Middle East for the Americans to like dick wave doesn't seem like a good plan. Whether they're our friends or not, I mean, I think they're our friends so long as they're our largest trading partner.
Agreed.
I don't think that they're doing this out of a sense of benevolence. I think they're doing this out of a sense of their bottom dollar.
Well, they got to export their inflation somehow.
Right? Like that's the like I don't see how this is a winning proposition. Like the politicians need to do the job and like do politics, conduct diplomacy, have international relations, try to not go to war, because I don't really want to go to another Middle Eastern war. Right? Like you don't win at those. Nobody. It's like going to a knife fight, right? Like who
It was a
wins the
really
knife fight?
shitty
The guy that
fucking
doesn't
war,
bleed
too.
to death.
I
Like,
feel like
that's-
if they went to war and then walked away, they didn't stick around to nation build or
maybe,
whatever
but
else.
the Americans are all about nation building, the same way that the Brits were for 300 years before them.
That's the thing that's what gets them bogged down. They won the war in Iraq in 3 weeks supposedly, and if they'd stopped there and said, "Here you go, we got rid of the a-hole in charge. You guys deal with it," and walked away, everyone would have called them names. But you know what? They wouldn't still be there. They got the job done. Because let's be honest.
You know what? Maybe that's the case, but I still question whether or not they should be there in the first place. Because why were the Americans Second Gulf War? Why did the Americans go to Iraq? To deal with the weapons of mass destruction that Saddam never had?
Well, if they believed it at the time, and I to this day do not know whether they believed it or not, but if assuming they did believe it, then then they should have gone and then left, and then that's the end of it.
Oh, I 100% am on board with them leaving plan. Like isolationism for everyone.
To be honest with
Like-
you, I think it's extremely close-minded if you think that they went there for weapons of mass destruction. It's clearly,
Oh no, I think that was just what
Clearly
they
an
told the American
excuse.
public.
Oil.
I don't
No.
think that's why they went to Iraq at all. I think they went for all the oil that's in Iraq. I think they went to go and topple a hostile regime they had previously funded and installed. Because remember, they already had a chance to get rid of Saddam once in the 90s, and they used that as ammunition when they went back the next go around.
Mhm.
Right? Because they installed Saddam. They had the opportunity in 90 to remove him during the first Iraq war, when it took them 3 days to drive to Baghdad. They let him continue to run the country for another 20 years. And then they went to remove him. It doesn't make sense. It's nation building. It's I mean, I think Ian touched on part of it. It's funding their debt-based economy because they need to have new sources of this. And I don't like the idea of young men going to fight wars so that Raytheon and Lockheed Martin can increase their bottom line. Like that doesn't appeal to me. But like this is a big nuanced problem, and like trying to deal with the isolationism for everyone. This is my solution. And maybe nationalize companies like Raytheon.
Nationalization seems like you're going down the
Socialist
NDP.
path.
Yeah, didn't you just say you didn't agree? I'm kidding.
Well, I don't like agreeing with politicians because it feels dirty. But like I'm not going to disagree with somebody when they're like when I
think they're right.
on a point
and
that
that's
they
kind of
made.
the thing is like there's a difference between like I am politically opposed to most of what they're doing and like the NDP MPs being like no war in the Middle East. I'm on board with no more wars in the Middle East.
I feel like it
Let's
doesn't
stop
take
doing
like a
those.
brain
Those don't seem
surgeon
like
to
a good
say we don't
plan.
want. I feel like it doesn't take a brain surgeon to say we don't want war. I mean,
Right, like
I think everybody's
how
kinda
many
on board with that.
How many Canadian soldiers have died in Afghanistan? How many Canadians have come home like Brock Blazek that are missing legs and arms and things? Like,
shitty
what have we
fucking war
got?
out
Why
there.
are we involved in Afghanistan? Like, serious question: why are Canadians dying in Afghanistan?
For so long afterwards too. It's like
Right, like
Especially
we've
once they
been
got
in
Bin Laden.
Afghanistan since 2003. It's 2020. Like, why? Why are we there?
158 Canadians died in Afghanistan.
Right, but like, what have we got for all of that blood and treasure? What does Canada get for?
They still hate the
160
Westerners
dead
just as much.
Canadians? Right, like, what do we get for being in Afghanistan? What do we get for having our special forces in Iraq training Iraqi? Why are we doing that? It blows my mind. We shouldn't be involved in this. It's not our sphere of influence. It's not our part of the world. We don't have, we don't get anything for it. If we were there and we were like, colonizing them and making it a new little Canada, and we wanted a nation build. I don't agree with that, but at least like that would be a more, in my mind, a more legitimate reason, because at least you're getting something for your investment. I don't think we should be doing that, but at least you're getting something for the investment.
Especially when Kandahar province was producing like 80% of the world's heroin, and they did nothing about it while they're there.
Like, we're dealing with this giant opium epidemic, and we have everybody hooked on opioids, and people are dying left, right. Like, more people die in Canada due to opioids than they do for, like, I forget what it is. It's like, it's the next leading cause of death in Canada after, like, cardiac arrest, like being fat. Like, opioid abuse.
Obesity. Yeah. No, it's like pretty much number one.
Yeah.
Other than that,
but that's what I mean. Like, it's like obesity, and then it's like opioid abuse. Why are we in this part of the world? Why are we just isolationism for everyone?
But because we're there, I mean, at least we could do something about that crisis, but we're not even doing anything about that.
But that's what I mean. Like,
you don't want to make the farmers broke.
So what does 160 dead Canadian soldiers get me?
I can tell you what, at the time I thought it bought us safety at home.
I thought that too, but
the illusion
people are driving around Toronto running people over with vans of peace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well,
it's been completely thrown out the window with our open borders. I mean, that's just a lie.
Again, it's just a lie. If we had isolationism, and we didn't let every Tom, Dick, and Harry pass the border, if we didn't have the RCMP there collecting the bags of people that were irregularly migrating into Quebec
and handing them bottles of water.
But you see, I feel like that muddies the water with the idea of refugees. There were cases of people who were running from legitimate conflicts who,
well, and I'm not saying they're not, and that's why I'm saying, like, this is not a black and white yes or no 2-minute thing. This is a very big, nuanced geopolitical thing that I'm probably not qualified to understand or talk about.
Yet here I am.
But like,
me personally,
nobody else is doing it. I know the media is like, salami bad, salami blow up.
Right.
Well, okay, but I don't like. Yeah, I'm not down with that. And I'm not down with, like I said, importing people en masse into this country that don't provide more value to this country. Like, sorry, man, first comers rule. Like, you should produce value and be here. You shouldn't be a drain on my society. We already pay too much in taxes, which is a whole other problem. And that's what I mean, like, none of this like stands alone as an individual topic, and to try and unpack it is so big and unwieldy because it's like a geopolitical issue, and that's sort of how it works. If we were stopping people from blowing up Christmas markets in Germany or running people over in downtown Toronto with like U-Hauls of peace, I could see that, like, fight them there so you don't have to fight them here, but like that's not working out for us.
I don't know. I feel like that's the thing with security. You can't say, well, we spent X amount on security and it worked, right?
Right. And that's kind of the problem is like, well, we prevented this many terrorisms from happening because you can't measure how many didn't happen. They
right.
Did, right. So like,
and how many almost happened and they didn't tell us about, like,
or how many almost happened and they were being watched the entire time, like the Toronto 13, like that group of students in Toronto that wanted to blow a thing up, and the RCMP were watching them the entire time, and they let them go for like 6 months.
Yeah,
and then they finally, like the week before they were going to finally blow something up, the RCMP
like,
finally
stepped
in.
No, sorry, we can't let you do this.
Right, and that's what I mean. Like, how much of this stuff actually happens? How much of this stuff actually gets reported? And how much of this stuff is like at arm's length, already being monitored by a government agency and just being let to like unfold as it will.
Cook.
Right. So, and to that, I must say that the 9/11 attacks, they were foreigners. They came overseas and they carried out their attack. How many attacks since then were foreigners, and how many were just local grown? Whether or not their parents immigrated. Whether or not their parents immigrated.
That's what I mean. The local grown thing, the waters get muddy super fast with that, because like, how many Canadians are Canadians in that they have a Canadian passport, not that they're like
born here.
or that like you're me, you're like a fourth or a fifth generation Canadian, that your family, like, you don't have another place that you come from because we've been here since forever, right? Like
Right.
the evil old stock Canadians that Trudeau talked about.
You mean like he's part of?
Well, I mean, like, he's
Yeah.
part of, but I mean, like,
No, he's French. It's not the
yeah,
same.
well,
He's
It's
a
not
French
the same.
elite.
it is not the same. But I mean, legitimately, it's not the same. It's treated differently. But that's my thing. How much of this is like Canadians of convenience? Hey, good comment, Todd, on the YouTube.
Todd's got it.
How much of this is Canadians of convenience versus how much of this is like actually like homegrown terrorism versus how much of this is people that have regularly migrated, or even people that have regularly migrated with the intention of doing naughty things once they migrated. Like, it all gets super muddy super fast because this is a big complex issue that you can't boil down into a simple like yes, no, good, bad, true, false kind of
Terrorist
dichotomy.
bad. Keep them out of here.
The Albertan. I thought he was Cuban.
Well,
Referring to Trudeau.
yeah, I mean, his dad was Cuban.
Well, he's starting to look a lot more like his dad now, isn't he? Just got to grow that thing a little longer.
Start wearing a beret.
Yeah.
Army uniform. Oh no, he didn't wear a beret. Sorry, he wore the cap thing.
He's got a cap thing. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. Yeah, people are gonna be mad at me, I guess, but like my position is isolationism. I think in general, we shouldn't be fighting wars in countries that we don't have real concerns in.
I believe
as a Canadian, I think we're done with war. We've had enough war for a couple decades. Just let's cool the jets on the whole war thing for a while.
I think we're just looking for the non-aggression principle, right? So just leave me the fuck alone. I'll leave you alone. Good.
Well,
Done.
and that's kind of the thing is like you have to remember. I spent most of my adult life as a libertarian. I just want to be left alone. I just want to grow marijuana and have guns. I just want to be left the fuck alone. And I get that that's not how like international diplomacy works. I get that that's not how geopolitics at like the national level works. But I don't want to spend my tax dollars. I don't want my government spending my tax dollars on fighting wars in some other country for some vague reason that doesn't really, like, what do 160 dead brothers get me?
Yeah. I don't know. I always reference when we talk about these things. I always just think back to my childhood during the Second Intifada, and I believe there was at least one Canadian that was injured or killed, or maybe it was just Americans. And I always thought to myself, why isn't the American government, or why aren't these foreign governments who are having their citizens blown up by these terrorists? Why aren't they saying anything? Why aren't they doing anything? Well, and that's where my opinion, I think, boils down from, is that
I get that, and that makes sense to me. I didn't include the Ukrainian airliner thing because I'm still waiting for more news about that.
Yeah,
to, like, settle.
agreed.
But like, they're talking about 57 or 63 Canadians that were killed in that airliner that was mistakenly shot down, allegedly by Iran. Mm-hmm. Whatever happened to it, that 170 people got killed, and 176-ish of them are Canadian. Mm-hmm. How many of them are actually Canadian, and how many of them are just people that were able to obtain Canadian passports?
Well, at that stage, does it make a difference? Someone attacked
not to me, because that's the thing. Is like, if you're going to go to Iran, I don't care. You decided to go to Iran. Iran is not like a safe place. Iran is not a place where you should want to go for a vacation.
What was the destination? Where was that plane flying to and from? I just know it was an Ukrainian
Tehran to
Kiev.
Kiev?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it was going to connect from Kiev right to Toronto. So,
okay. Yeah. Well, again,
but like, I mean, like,
there you go.
Yeah, it sucks that people got killed in whatever happened to this plane. That eventually maybe we will get news about like what actually happened, because originally Iran said they didn't shoot it down, and then Iran said they did shoot it down, and now they may or may not like
have
divulge the information.
Shut it down.
Well, but like, did they? Not getting into that. It sucks that 170 people got killed on a civilian airliner, but also they were in Iran. Iran is not a safe place. Would you willingly go to Iran? Because Iran's not like my top 5 vacation destination.
I think Benny, it's probably is not on his bucket list. Well, it would be a bucket list if he went, but
like that's what like. How many of these Canadians were Canadians in that they were traveling on Canadian passport, and how many of them were like
they happen to have a Canadian passport? Yeah. So that, in that sense, that makes that is a good question to ask.
But nobody's asking that because everybody's busy being mad at the Iranians for allegedly shooting down an airliner.
And I think that's because
if they did that, that's a terrible thing, especially if it was like a thing that their government or that their military commanders ordered. I don't think that they're that stupid that they would on purpose shoot down a civilian airliner. I think that somebody fucked up.
100%.
But I also
there's
don't
no
think
strategic thing to gain from it, right?
Right, there's nothing to gain from it. And again, I don't think we're going to get the full story, and I don't trust what's in the media, and I'm hoping we get more details, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I think the details of just about what we're going to get, I think, is pretty much out in the ether now. I don't think we're going to get much more. At least not anytime soon. Maybe in a few years or something might come to light. But
we'll wait and see. I guess the
problem with
Ukrainians
waiting
get to be involved because the airliner is flagged out of their country, and the Ukrainians have asked for the assistance of French aviation investigators, and France is actually pretty good at figuring out why airplanes crash. They're not as good as NTSB in the States, but like they're
it's because they do it. It's because they fucking crash so often.
Right,
France.
Like France is pretty good at figuring out what went wrong.
Fucking they hit a fucking park plane for fuck's sakes.
Well, yeah, but so I mean, like, see what happens. But that investigation is going to take time, and then we'll see what gets released, and we'll see how much of it is true. And again, it's going to end up in the media, and we know how much I trust those fuckers.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. If it's too early, the information is spotty because they're jumping to conclusions. At the end of the day, though, if you wait too long, it's old information, and who knows what's true or what's not at that stage.
Right, and that's kind of my thing with this is like, just like Occam's razor, like the easiest explanation is probably the correct explanation.
They just want to shoot it down.
Somebody probably fucked up. Like somebody probably made a mistake and accidentally shot down a civilian airliner.
Yeah, it started beeping at them on the radar screen. And they're like, "Oh fuck!" Hit the button.
Okay, so you want like some actual like some true autism in like the overtime hour because I guess CPP is going into overtime this week. So the these are Su-16 Gauntlet missiles. Don't ask me what it is in Russian, right? But like the NATO designation for this is an Su-16 Gauntlet. These are mobile surface-to-air missiles that have a range of 20,000 feet. So you do the math, you figure out the plane was at 8,000 feet. They were taking off from the airport in Tehran. It was accidentally shot down. You have to keep moving these batteries around. The Su-16 can be fired as a battery of 4 vehicles with a centralized command and control system, a 5th vehicle. They all have individual radar, but you can also tie them into a larger system with a separate radar vehicle. The problem with these is every time you move the fucking things, you have to recalibrate them. This is common with like surface-to-air missiles. So every time, because of the way the radar system works, you have to recalibrate it. So you're taking advantage of like dead spots in the terrain or reflections or other EM interference. You have to recalibrate the radars. The Su-16 has a feature, because it's made by the Soviets and it's designed for conscripts to work, where it has an auto-engage mode. The auto-engage mode fires 2 missiles. Allegedly, the Americans, an anonymous American source, and again, how much I trust anonymous American sources, an anonymous American source pointed out to CNN last week that they detected 2 heat signatures and 1 explosion. Well, it's an Su-16. It fires as a pair. It's a battery. So if they had one mobile launcher, which they would have 1 mobile launcher on a vehicle, and they were targeting civil aircraft to do the recalibration of the radar, to remind me why they might do that in a moment, if they accidentally put it into auto-engage mode, it might have loosed 2 missiles, which would just explain the 2 heat signatures, and then 1 explosion. Why would you do this? Because your Air Force is fucking terrible. Normally what happens when you have mobile surface-to-air missile batteries is you put them in a new position. Remind me about that when we come back to YouTube comments. Andrew knows a lot about a lot of things. It's not just Iranian missiles. Andrew paid attention in class. I used to do a thing for the government once. But I also am able to read, but that's a separate problem. I am also fascinated by aviation and history, which is another thing, and reading. So
I knew there's a reason I hung out around you.
Well, so Su-16 is like any other mobile surface-to-air missile system. When you reposition the launcher, you have to recalibrate the radar. Normally, in a civilized country, you have an aircraft from your Air Force fly low and slow in a pattern around your launch site so that you can get all the terrain features marked and that you can paint the aircraft and you have them flip the transponder on so that you can calibrate for any differences between the reflected radar signature from the aircraft and the position of the transponder.
Are you saying
if
they
you have a super shitty Air Force that can't fly their old-ass airplanes and you happen to be near a giant commercial airport like the airport in Tehran, you might use commercial airliners to do this because they have transponders that are always on.
And it's cheaper that way because you don't have to pay for that civilian airliner that's going by. You don't have to pay for the gas, the time of the soldier or the pilot to do it, everything else. It's just easy and cheap to do.
Right.
That sounds so convenient.
So, I mean,
it makes sense. If what you're saying is true and I believe
stupid and
you,
shitty?
then
Yes. But is it like a common practice if you can't get an Air Force aircraft from your country or from another friendly nation to do the type of flying that you need to do to recalibrate your radar to use if you're near a commercial airline route to use commercial aircraft for the same purpose? Because it does, all you need is an aircraft with a transponder. Military or civilian, it doesn't matter. It's just tracking, right? So you're just calibrating your radar. But the Su-16 has an auto-engage function, and if it's set to auto-engage and you paint a target, it'll loose 2 missiles at that target.
And if
So
Farhad
likely,
Farhad
somebody in like the Iranian surface-to-air missile crew just made a mistake. Likely, my guess, like total speculation, no proof of that, but like that's my guess.
First
Somebody
week on
fucked
the job,
up.
right? Well, if it was the first week on the job, and he's like, whoops, my bad.
So I don't know how Iran trains their military, but I can't imagine your average Iranian soldier is like a particularly well-trained or caring individual. Right? Because like I use as a reference any other soldier I've ever met, and then like take that as the average, and this guy is going to be significantly worse than the average. Right? So like probably somebody fucked up. Does that excuse it? No. Is it still a terrible thing? Yes. Do I still like feel bad that people got killed over this? Absolutely. That shouldn't happen. But people fuck up. That doesn't excuse it, but it also isn't a reason to like nuke a country.
No, this isn't the first time this has happened either. Like I think I pointed out on the messaging there that the USS Vincennes shot down an Iranian airliner back in the 80s. You had the Korean airline get shot down from the Russians. There's conspiracy theories out there about TWA-800 getting shot down by the U.S. Navy. It's happened before, right? I mean, accidental shoot downs are a thing.
Stuff is not perfect.
I think that's probably that is the most likely thing in my mind that would have happened in this case is somebody accidentally shot down a civil airline.
Yep.
Ian, you just made flying so much more scary.
Well, don't fly. Why are you flying to Tehran? You need to go to Tehran? I don't need to go to Tehran.
Would you fly to a country that has no diplomatic relations with your country?
Yeah.
Regardless of what it is. It could be Fiji.
How much am I getting paid?
Yeah.
To be honest, I
better be some danger pay.
I travel to very specific countries and I fly for very specific reasons. My wife wants to go to Mexico or Puerto Rico or no, sorry.
You can go anywhere but Mexico down there.
I'll go to Israel, right? People get blown up there not so regularly, but I ain't going to Mexico or any of these touristy places. Sorry.
I like Canada. I'm happy in Canada.
Ground is good. I like ground. Ground is fun. It's hard. Concrete. It doesn't hurt me as long as I don't leave it too far. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm not opposed to flying, but like also the stats on how often aircraft have engine fires would probably frighten you.
Oh yeah. There's videos people like freaking out. The engine's on fire, like looking out the window. I was like, oh, what are you gonna do? They got another one. We'll be fine.
I mean, they will. That's literally why they have more.
No,
than one.
exactly.
Like things fail.
I mean, Ian's keeping quiet over here, but I'm not worried.
Yeah,
I'm not worried.
Aside from my autism on like surface-to-air missile systems that were provided to various countries by the Soviets
And mobile gun batteries, or missile batteries.
Them Russians.
Them Russians.
Well, like you said, everything you just said makes complete sense and is probably exactly what happened, if not something close
Well,
to it.
I'm not
And-
saying it's what happened, but I mean, like the simplest
it's a very good-
explanation is probably the correct explanation, right?
And like I said, I don't think there's any malicious intent. It's just a huge fuck up with terrible timing, considering everything that just happened in the previous weeks. And like I said, there is absolutely zero to gain from doing such a thing. I don't know how many Americans were on it.
strategically, it just doesn't make sense. Why would
Nobody.
you- what do you get for that?
As far as I know, there was no important diplomat support as far as
So-
Americans are concerned. None.
I agree with you.
Well,
I agree with you that there's not much to gain and doesn't make sense. But then I go back to the old thing where I don't believe the West
Oh.
has any idea on what
crazy Iranians don't necessarily need to make sense for them to do something. Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm on board with that too. Like,
like I
That
agree
too.
with you. You're if what you said is true, and again, as I'll take it with
Agreed.
a grain of salt.
Agreed. We don't know
The
the
idea
whole
is-
story. For
The
sure.
idea that they're just trying to calibrate and they had a problem, I could see that happening, and that poor sucker being the guy who pushed the button. But to say that they need a reason to do it, no, sorry, I don't see them needing.
yeah,
one.
no, I don't disagree with that. Like, crazy people be crazy. Crazy religious leaders in Iran be particularly crazy. Like, I'm totally on board with your point of view there, Benny. It like from a strategic sense, like
Right? No,
from a
it doesn't
military
make sense.
history
You're right.
it doesn't make sense. But also, crazy people don't have to make sense.
Exactly.
Anyway, if you want to come and argue with me in person and explain your knowledge of surface-to-air missiles and explain to me how I have mistakenly explained Soviet anti-aircraft technology, you should come to TACOM. That'll be September 11th to 13th. Now I'm going to do the actual ad read. The Canadian Program Podcasters Network will be in attendance at TACOM 2020. Your favorite podcasters will be on hand throughout the show, so make sure you stop by the booth to meet your favorites and pick up some swag, or drop by while we do our special live broadcast where we'll be talking to event organizers, guest speakers, and vendors about all their new and must-have product. You can see details for the show at www.tacomcanada.com, and stay tuned for ticket release details. That's right. Because of the original typo in the email from TACOM, I will forever read that as podcasters.
Keeping it original.
Almost as good as pod cards. Not quite.
Nah,
Not even
you
close.
can never
Really.
surpass the original pod cart.
It's true. The OG pod card.
The most pod cart of pod carts. Let's
That's what this is from.
hey, Dave's got a trophy from that. Pod cart trophy. Ian,
And a
where
fancy.
can everyone find you and your stylish hat?
Oh, you can find me on Canadian Prepper Podcast. We're recording on Sunday nights when I can make it there on time, it seems. You can also email me direct at theislandretreat@gmail.com.
All right, Benny, where
You can find me at bennylewis.ca or on New Shooter Canada when the next time we post a podcast eventually. Or at
Oh,
Shot
you
Show,
guys are going to do another podcast?
Well,
maybe. I don't
They've
know.
been cranking them out pretty regularly lately.
We got a little hiatus because of Christmas and New Year's, and I've got a new work schedule, so I'm not really available ever.
But you're on this show, and this is the #1 podcast, so this is really the place to be.
Yeah, well, whatever. I'm off this week, except for yesterday, so I couldn't go to the shoot. And the week before I go away, I have no work. But the week I'm away, then I'm scheduled to work the whole week. So, yay me!
Well, could be worse. Being unemployed sucks. Makes it hard to buy ammo.
Very true.
Being employed but not getting enough hours also sucks.
That also sucks.
Yeah, that pays bills but doesn't pay for ammo still.
Exactly.
Yeah, still no ammo. Dave, where can everybody see you?
Find me on the grams at Diesel6223, or if you want to start coming out to my precision shoots this summer, got lots of dates booked. Email me at oraprecision@gmail.com if you want to come out.
I look forward to people coming out and trying to best us as the best precision rifle pair.
Tactical class.
That's right.
I barely know where my ammo goes on my precision rifle. So
You need to get on my
That's
level,
a you
bro.
problem.
yeah, it is. It definitely is.
I mean, I do plan. We are talking about some clinics as well with Ragnarok and also with the ORA. So stay tuned for that as well.
Looking
And
forward.
I'll teach you where to put the pew sticks into the pew tubes, and we'll get you hitting some stuff at range.
That's what I'm talking about.
If you've listened to my drunken ramblings this long, you deserve a discount at Ragnarok Tactical. Go online, buy some stuff. Use the discount code Patriot. Save 10% on anything on the store at checkout. $10 flat rate shipping on everything in the store, even though Canada Post shipping rates have gone up. So my loss is your gain. If it fits, it ships. Something like that.
Sounds right.
I have to apologize to Rod Giltaka. I don't have anything particular to apologize for this week. I'm just apologizing to Rod.
Yep. Keep fighting that good fight, Rod. Come on the show one of these days.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to apologize to Rod Giltaka's choice in music for his podcast. How about that?
Ooh,
I like
shots
80s
fired.
hard rock, but also not that much.
I wish he'd
Too
keep
much?
it
He went overboard?
consistent.
I mean,
Too much White Snake? What happened?
it's a lot of White Snake.
It's his
And
generation,
a lot
though. I
of
mean,
the crew.
nothing wrong with the crew.
That's the tight leather pants, man.
Oh yeah, I can't watch their videos. It's cringe as fuck, but still.
All right. For all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I'd like to take this opportunity to remind you that you are the true North, strong and free.